Welcome to episode 156 of the Collector's Quest podcast. In this episode, we're looking back at 2020, our favorite things we bought, our most shameful things we bought, the good and bad trends of the year. It has been maybe the craziest year ever in video game collecting for a number of reasons. So we're also looking forward to 2021, hoping things might be a little more stable, a little more reasonable this year. But you know how we've been in predicting the future in the past. Tell your mom about the show, give us 5 stars on iTunes, and let's go. Welcome back to another episode of Collector's Quest. I'm Tyler here with Johnny and Stefan, and how was your year, guys?
Oh, you know, like everyone else's.
Yeah, it was fine.
Nothing major happened. I think everything went just as we would have expected it to.
Yes.
Yeah, like virtually nothing happened because I haven't left my house.
Yeah, I think the only thing noteworthy to report is the 1,200 hours that your wife played Animal Crossing.
Yeah, so we got our Nintendo year in review emails. Johnny, how much Nintendo Switch did you play this year?
34 shameful hours, and I want it to be like quadruple that.
So I played 96 hours, and that's evenly split between Ring Fit Adventure and Animal Crossing. And then my wife, Ada, for some reason didn't get an email. Probably because they didn't want her to know how much Nintendo Switch she plays. So she has played one game. It is Animal Crossing New Horizons, and she played it for 1,232 hours this year, which is over 51 days, 24-hour days.
I'm so impressed and horrified.
I mean, at this point, I think she's got more cred than you, Tyler. I think we're due to Switch hosts.
She's the bigger gamer than me. It's 100% true. In April, which was the first full month she had the game, she averaged 8.6 hours a day for 30 days.
Yeah, it was her job, and she didn't take breaks.
She was still working, right?
Yeah, she's still working, to be clear. We were still working from home in April. This is in addition to her regular job, which some of those hours are obviously simultaneous. I mean, we got to catch those bugs. We got to get those bells.
You can edit this, but did Ada get her job? Did she accept?
Oh, yeah, she did accept her new position at her unnamed company. She's getting a drug test tomorrow. We're praying, guys. I don't know if she's going to make it.
I think she'll be fine there. Did she? You said she negotiated. It was very stressful. Did she get her extra bump that she asked for?
She sure didn't. Because they have a standardized pay scale. But you know what? It was an exciting time for her. First time she negotiated. I sure wouldn't have negotiated because you guys know me. So
well, as long as it's an actual standardized pay scale and they're not just saying that to you, that's fine.
It's kind of like halfway a government job, so I wasn't expecting a thing. It's like
that's a little different.
Right.
Yeah. No, I asked when I got hired at my position, and they told me no also. But with the promise of, like, in 3 months, we will.
Oh, cool.
So,
yes, but.
Yeah, I got a yes, but. But then I found out the guy who was hired at the exact same time as me had gotten more than me right out of the gate. And then I brought that up to my boss, and she was, like, face-palming, because she didn't know that. That was, like, HR's decision. And then they corrected that, too, so.
By paying him less?
No, by giving me a retroactive bump, actually.
That's how you make a friend for life, Johnny.
So, anyways, that was an interesting thing. That was like my one big like career negotiation thus far.
Good job.
Woo. It is stressful to negotiate that though. Anyways, people do, like. I don't think our audience like gives about negotiating careers and career pay.
Let's get right into our episode: how to negotiate your salary for when you move jobs to buy more video games.
You really want to have more economic purchasing power, and to do that, you're going to want to make sure you're getting the best possible pay at your new job. So, before you go into the interview, make sure you go to sites like Glassdoor and. Okay, I'm done. I'm done doing that bit.
Although that was good advice.
Yeah, no, it's true. You actually should do that to know what the going rate is.
Actually do that.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm done with that bit. I'm done with it. Okay. Guys, there was, like, we joked that nothing happened this year. We didn't do anything. And I clearly didn't play much Nintendo Switch. But, a lot did happen in collecting. Regardless of the outside world, a lot happened. A lot of that affected by what happened in the outside world, and we'll talk about that. But I'm more interested in how the year was for us personally, and like our collecting goals and things that we said last year that we were going to do and how we met them. And you guys as listeners out there, you should be reflecting on like what you thought you might have done, and just know that this year was you can kind of take a mulligan for this year because things went so wacky, and try again. Don't beat yourself up if you didn't hit goals again, because of coronavirus, I guess we can say. And, people losing jobs, everything was madness. This year was madness after March. So,
people losing their jobs simultaneously as prices were doubling across the board, you might say, just as we all predicted would happen.
Yeah. Nope. Got that wrong. We're going to get into it. We've got, if you listen to our episode last year, you can kind of go back and see what we said there, and you'll hear what we did this year. We're going to talk through some of those same questions. So this is an easy one. Guys, I want to talk about your worst and best purchases of the year. Stefan, we'll go with you. Let's go with worst first. What was the absolute worst thing you bought this year? And qualify why it was the worst.
Yeah, because there is abstractly, it was a bad buy, and then it just got worse with the story than behind it. So my worst was probably I bought a Pioneer Elite CLD 97 Laserdisc player, which was dumb in the first place. But I also paid over $400 for it, so there's another layer of stupid. And then the stupidest thing is that it then arrived completely broken, and not just like a little bit broken, but like super, super broken, like well beyond repair. And then like the seller, this was through eBay, and the seller like tried to, like, he was like, oh, well, like you need to like talk to FedEx and get them to handle it. And which is not at all true at all. Like but he refused to do anything about it. So like it was kind of on me to try and make like a refund happen. And then like he ended up not insuring it correctly, or for the full value. So like then finally, when FedEx was like, okay, we'll reimburse you, they offered me $100 on my over $400 Laserdisc player, which I cannot repair. And then
this wasn't through eBay?
It was through we went through the shipper first, and then thankfully I followed up.
Yeah,
eBay basically covered the gap. So, which I'm thankful for in the end. But that whole process took about like 6 months. So like really, like if you talk about like value proposition there, as far as like my time sink into that, like did I get much of a refund? Probably not. But on paper, FedEx refunded me like $100, and then eBay stepped in and they refunded me the balance, which I'm sure didn't come out of that pocket, which I would much rather have it done.
It may have. It depends how it went down. Like if they ruled it was his fault, it usually does. Stefan, one that sucks, and you brought something up that I love, that the value proposition, that your time invested into that was like actually the worst part of it, because even though you got your money back, you'll never recover that time. And I can't stress this enough. And this is like, you hear people on forums, I hate this response. Just return it or just get a refund. It's not that big a deal. And it might not be for some people, but like if it's a rare item or something that's hard to get another one in nice condition, like, or if prices move at an insane rate like they do now, that is over. Like the time and money is forever lost. I hate that people don't value time, and I'm glad that you value yours, because so many people in this world just say, well, your time isn't worth anything. My time is valuable. And I hope all of our listeners value their time. Clearly not as much as they should, as they listen to our 3-hour podcasts. So, but just kidding, guys. Keep listening.
the CLD 97, it is a very nice Laserdisc player. Is it $400 worth of very nice? Probably not, especially if it's arrives broken in a unrepairable state. But
where is it now?
It's sitting in my game room on the floor. I don't even know what to do with it now because like it's this big expensive piece of garbage that like I mean I got refunded for it, so I don't like maybe I'll sell it for parts, maybe I'll just like give a heavy sigh and eventually just throw it into the dumpster, but right now it's sitting on the floor in my game room.
Okay. That's a good worst purchase. Let's toss over to Tyler though. Let's hear about Tyler's worst purchase.
Johnny, everything I bought this year was excellent.
Nope. Banger.
Was not.
That is not at all true. So, in thinking about my worst purchase, I think objectively, the worst thing I bought was a bunch of fake stamps from Kyrgyzstan, or purported to be from Kyrgyzstan, Pokemon stamps. They're called illegal stamps because it's basically just a sheet of paper that someone printed up in the garage with a bunch of Pokemon characters, and they're pretending that they're stamps from Kyrgyzstan. And I knew they were fake when I bought them, and I don't remember why I bought them. I think I just still wanted to see what fake stamps are, and I got them in the mail, and it's just a really thin sheet of paper with some Pokemon printed on it. So, like, kind of objectively, that's the worst thing I bought. Also, if you'll remember, I mentioned this on the show, I bought the orange bar versions of Crossword DS and Big Brain Academy, which, as far as I understand, are the later prints of those DS games.
Yes, that's correct.
Because I went down a rabbit hole of kind of starting to buy like basically every Nintendo game I don't have yet. So I'm just like looking at big lists of Nintendo published games and being like, well, let's see which one of these I don't have yet. So we could just start knocking this list out. And I bought the wrong Crosswords and wrong Big Brain Academy. Other than that, my worst purchases were like buying the wrong variants of stuff I wanted to buy the right variants of. So for example, something I went down a small rabbit hole on was, Mattel Football and Mattel Auto Race, which are my two favorite, that I know of at least, I haven't played all of them, my two favorite Mattel Electronics games. And there are actually a few different variants of each of those, and the first times I bought them, I did not buy the nicest or earliest variants of those, which are the ones I wanted. So my hot tip is, when you do that and you want to cover it up, you just post all of the variants you bought and say, look at all these variants I have of this thing, including the good variant. Not saying, here are all the variants I have, this is the good one, and the others are garbage that I accidentally bought before I knew what the good one was.
That's an interesting tip.
Hot tip. So cover up your bad purchases by pairing them with your good purchases and calling it a set.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's one way to do it. So, yeah, Tyler, there's so many weird things you bought this year that, I mean, I don't understand.
I've been all over the place. Like, literally, I started the year with stamps, Johnny, and then, like, I went into, like, buying Nintendo
and you, like,
games.
You bought, like, the Commodore 64, like, no, that was a good purchase. So your Zork, what was the Stanley Parable thing? Like, bought that. That was, like, a weird buy for me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you also have, like, Microsoft Windows and the Windows Entertainment Pack from Windows.
No, that's like good stuff, I think. That's like part of me going down like, what's the historical stuff that no one cares about that I can get right now? The first releases of Solitaire and Minesweeper, those are important games in some sense, and no one has them when they're thinking of a video game collection.
I mean, it's just weird. It's weird, Tyler.
It's very weird. I'm not saying that my year wasn't weird. My year has been very weird. It's largely been that I have been unhooked from set collecting because I'm kind of done collecting all the sets I can feasibly collect. So now everything I'm going for just kind of has to be this one-off thing. Because I'm not even looking at subsets. Because even like, I want Capcom and Konami NES complete in box sets, but even just looking at those, it's like so daunting with NES prices that I'm just like, forget it. I'll do it later if I ever do it at all. I really don't want to ever have to buy a Snow Bros or a Chippendale 2 or anything like that.
I'm going to go and also say that as much as I love Star Wars, that Star Wars big box limited run thing you went on for a little while.
Oh, we maybe put that under shameful or bad. I totally forgot about those. I've only been going through my eBay history, but yeah, I'm like basically done with limited run stuff. Like I didn't buy Chex Quest, and I'm the biggest Chex Quest fan on the show. So I guess that's a good sign for my future that I didn't buy Chex Quest.
All right. Yeah, those are some good ones. Stefan, do you have any other worst ones you want to throw out before you get your best ones? Any other like weird ones that you're like, ugh?
Yeah, I do. I'm a little bit conflicted on this one, so I guess I'll leave it to you guys to tell me whether or not this is a bad or not. So everybody knows that I collect gameplay counts from memorabilia.
What?
And when the High Score documentary came out on Netflix recently, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, it's not the most in-depth documentary series, but it is very entertaining and very well produced. So I do recommend High Score on Netflix. But when they did that, there was an episode that heavily involved gameplay counts or memorabilia, and including the jackets, which I collect. And so as soon as that happened, there were a couple of these like third-party, like Asia-based clothing manufacturers that normally they like focus on cosplay and stuff like that. But a couple of these companies started manufacturing fake gameplay counselor jackets, and I bought one. So this is why I'm conflicted. I bought one so that I could make a video on it because I wasn't sure. They were using photos of an actual jacket, so I wasn't sure what these things would actually look like. So I wanted to buy one so I could do a step-by-step comparison, which I did, of the fake jacket next to a real jacket. However, on paper, I spent $140
Jesus Christ.
on a jacket that I knew was fake.
A bad one too.
Thankfully a bad fake though. Like I'm happy and ended up not, because like I was originally concerned, and the whole reason why I did it was that these would be reasonable fakes and that we would get kind of flooded, or like people would get had with these fake jackets. Thankfully that didn't turn out to be true, but I wouldn't have known that had I not bought one. So yeah, I did pay $140 for a jacket that I knew to be fake, under the guise of education. So maybe that saves me from the bad purchase column. I don't know or not.
No, I don't think that's, when I say bad, like I actually mean the quality of the jacket is bad. Like if you spend $140 on a jacket, I would want better than what you got. And that's,
no, for sure.
Like,
right. No, but
yeah.
I just mean like, I don't know whether or not I consider it a bad purchase because like I used it for educational purposes, but at the end of the day, I paid $140 for a very fake jacket.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, yeah, I it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. So we'll call it a wash. I think you're fine.
All right.
Okay, but what was your best purchase?
My best purchase. So this one was hard for me, and here comes Fat Cat Stefan. This one was hard for me because
back again, gentlemen.
Yeah. So in this year, one of my collecting goals, as I mentioned in last year's episode, is to continue to grow my Nintendo Power Original Art collection, and that has happened at a clip that I could not have even foreseen. So at this time last year, I had a couple dozen pieces in the art collection. At this point, I have over 350 pieces in the art collection. So I knew my best purchase was going to be something around that, but I think high above everything else, I think, is the physical cover models that I got for Nintendo Power Magazine. So that's the Mega Man 2 cover, the Mario 3 cover.
Oh my God, that was
cover.
this year? Like what?
Yeah,
this year's so long.
Is that better than the Protos?
Oh,
I mean, I think so.
Way better.
I mean, as like those are probably vying for 1 and 2, but considering how not only historically relevant, but like incredibly delicate, and like judging by like when I say like things that shouldn't exist, right? Those are like among things that shouldn't exist. I got there were 5 of those physical covers that I got in a single purchase. So that's also because of how many of them I bought at the same time. I think that qualifies for my best buy.
Fair.
But again, a runner up, as Johnny alluded to, I did come into 15 different NES prototypes this year, and included in that was a previously unknown early translation version of the original Final Fantasy, which is now on Hidden Palace. Is it .org? HiddenPalace.org? And you can download that and play it yourself. But I was able to acquire that and dump that, so that was really exciting as well. But yeah, those are some good stuff happened this year for me in that realm.
Yeah, you were on a heater, as the kids say.
Yep.
And Johnny, I will say that the Nintendo Power covers are definitely cooler than the prototypes because people have prototypes, but the Nintendo Power covers, it's like a category of object that people don't even have in their collection.
No, I agree.
Although the Final Fantasy prototype is pretty sweet.
Yeah, like Ninja Gaiden 3.
I mean, yeah, that's just personally, but like on the more grand historical, people will care about this since a brand new translation of Final Fantasy that no one's ever seen before is way cooler than a Ninja Gaiden 3 with like one frame of glitchy animation in between screen transitions.
No, I just meant like as a collective, like, where, like, and does monetary value play? I was just asking, I'm devil's advocating, yeah, Stefan, you had some insane purchases. That was, what do you even say about that? That's like, okay, cool, cool. You Steffaned it up. You sure did.
Well, and that's I think the thing that it really is extraordinary to me was I set this goal and then like the like magnitude at which I fulfilled that goal was just like, I can't even, like, even looking back at it now, like I can't imagine, like, I don't understand in some regard how that played out the way that it did.
Well, I mean, be honest about it. How did, so people know, how did it? Like, were you persistent? Like, were you also a little lucky? What were all the things that what are the ingredients of the soup that made this? Because, we're here to talk about goals, and people see like, oh, well, how did you do it, Stefan? So you might as well tell people.
Yeah, so I mean, and actually, I would probably reference, and I'll reference this later in my most informative episode, but my SideQuest 2 social strategies. If you are interested in kind of how the ways that I work deals and that kind of thing, that's definitely one to listen to. But yeah, it's all persistence and research and time, just like hundreds of hours of my time, hunting down leads, finding people's names, going. The networking spider web, right? I find someone and then they know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who has a Final Fantasy prototype, that kind of thing. So it's not magic, but it is an insane amount of work. I will say, as far as luck is concerned, I think earlier, like when I was just starting out, that definitely was a higher degree of luck. Like when I started my Nintendo Power art collection, that started because I happened across a gameplay counselor, because I was collecting gameplay counselor memorabilia. I happened to happen across a gameplay counselor who then left his job as a counselor and started drawing for Nintendo Power magazine. Now, I could not have foreseen that at all. I was not at all looking for that. It was just I was asking about a jacket, and he's like, oh, I don't have a jacket, but I do have this piece of art that I drew for Nintendo Power. And that kind of spiraled out of control.
But that's also opportunity, right? Like,
sure,
you saw an opportunity, which is something we preach on the show, is opportunistic buying. But you saw an opportunity, a door opened, and you said, okay, this is a lane I could take. I can choose to take it right now and see where it goes, or I can do nothing with it. And you chose to go down that road.
Right. So, but now having, talking about all the work that you put into towards networking and stuff like that, now it's like what most people externally would see as luck is really more of the work that I put in before paying me dividends now, right? Like me being now incredibly easy to find online when you search for anything Nintendo Power related. Just the virtue of me having built this network of talent, then also knowing more talent and then referring their friends to me, that kind of thing. That's all, these things that drop in my lap. I'm doing air quotes. You can't tell I'm doing air quotes, but I am. These things that drop in my lap aren't really dropping in my lap as much as it is just a connection or, someone that I had found, coming back to me out of the blue when I didn't expect it. Or like those prototypes, for instance, that was 2 years ago. I reached out to a guy and he was like, well, I think I have a box of things in the garage. If I ever come across that box, then I'll let you know. And then 2 years later, that box was those 15 NES prototypes. right? So that was an instance where I planted the seed, and I talk about this in that social strategies episode. It's not necessarily about getting something from someone now as much as it is making sure that when they are ready to part with whatever the object is, that you are the first person that they think of. So that was an example of me planting a seed 2 years ago, and then that individual coming back to me when he actually found that box in his garage.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, that's just for people to hear, just about how do you obtain things? How do you obtain goals? How do you get after it, and not expecting things just to happen overnight, right. Having a long-term strategy in play, and then knowing that sometimes things take a long time. As set collectors, Stefan, you're a little bit of an outlier because you did it fast, but if you ever went down the set road, you just get most reasonable people aren't going to be like, well, I want this set. Let's complete it in 3 months. You're just like, I'm going to be at this for a while. And to do that, I'm going to have to go through the ups and downs and see what everything else in between is to get down that road. So anyways, right. I just like people to hear that.
Yeah, and that's just amplified by, when you get to the point where you are buying things that literally are not for sale, the biggest commodity that you will be spending is your time. It is going to be a incredible amount of your time. So yeah, and even so that's why I don't tend to talk about prices a lot for things because of that, right? Because it doesn't properly reflect the value of something, right? Because I paid X for something doesn't mean I didn't spend hundreds of hours of my time trying to get it.
Fair. All right. I realized that I did not do my worst purchase, so I'm going to flip into that before we go to Tyler's best purchase. My worst purchase, I didn't do anything super egregious this year. There are some sketchy purchases. Maybe I overpaid on some PS2 stuff here and there, but that all wound up being fine down the road. But my worst purchase probably is some GBA games, and it's not like those are even especially bad, but I'm not really going for a GBA set. These are speculative buys that I make sometimes. I saw one seller with a bunch of really low end complete in box GBA games. So I just bought them all up. I was just like, all right, there's 40 or 50 games here. So it was a big buy. And people think, oh yeah, that doesn't sound too bad. They're $5 to $10 each. But when you start to get to 40, 50 games or whatever, it starts to add up. So are those 40 games that I really don't care about, are those cooler than one object that's $500? Probably not. Would one $500 object do better? I don't know. I would have to really eke out the math on that and speculate what I would have spent that $500 on. But, I was trying to stay, one of my goals was I was going to buy more cool GBA stuff. And there's a lot of cool GBA stuff, but I want to more focus on the better stuff. And this was kind of a lapse from that goal. So that was not my best. And if people are curious why we talk through our worst buys, why do you care? Well, one of the things we want to do in the show, and some of the criticism we get is oh, you guys are elitist, or it's we know we're in a different category, but we are still the same. We're still collectors who sometimes impulse buy something stupid, overpay on something, buy stuff we shouldn't have that doesn't feed into our goals, just make silly purchases. And sometimes we make some good ones. We are just like you as far as regular collecting goes. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to make missteps. And this is with years of collective experience, years and years and years, decades even of collective experience. And I'll still make the same stupid mistakes. So don't beat yourself up over it if you did. We just like to reflect what happened over here. But Tyler, now I want to know from you, what did you buy that was really good? What was your best buy this year? What are you most pleased with?
My best buy. So I've kind of turned into buying these one-off things because, like you, I don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on filler, which I recognize is something that I love and have done in the past. But
and you do all the time.
Yeah, I love filler. Filler's great, but in terms of what I need to buy now that will make me the happiest and will be harder to acquire in the future. I don't think that filler N64 titles to go for a complete N64 collection is probably the thing to buy right now. The thing to buy right now is things that no one is even thinking about. That's probably always the thing to buy, is things that no one is thinking about. But like, go to Game Value now and look up N64 filler right now. Because one of the things I did this year, I completed my Genesis set, like 100%, all manuals, everything, finally fixed all that up.
Congrats.
You look at filler in N64, like NBA In the Zone 2000, it's like $175. Carmageddon 64 is like $160. Not the most cost-effective way to improve my collection. So I have been going after kind of all these like variants and cool games that I've known about, and I'm like, oh, I could get that one day. And that one day is now, because I don't want... Basically, my litmus test is, oh, this game's $120. If it was $500, would I still want to buy it if there were like completed sales on eBay and the last 10 that sold all went for $500? And if the answer is yes, it's like, well, crap, I need to buy that right now, because guess what? NBA In the Zone 2000, if that was $500, I would not even go near that game, because it's a stupid filler game. So I think the best two things I bought, unless Johnny wants to remind me of something, my Run 1 Magnavox Odyssey in completely near mint condition, 100% complete. I don't think I've ever seen one as complete or as nice. It's got all the little baggies around the components. The controllers look like they've never been unwound. It's got this piece of styrofoam, so it comes in a box that has two stacked pieces of styrofoam, and in between the two pieces of styrofoam, there's another piece of styrofoam, and I don't think I've ever seen another Magnavox Odyssey that has that third piece of styrofoam with it. It's just super nice all around. Came in the shipping box, but a lot of them came in the shipping box. I don't actually know how these worked at retail, but everyone seems to have the shipping box for a Magnavox Odyssey. And yeah, I'm extremely happy with that, because that thing is like, 50 years old, and it is the nicest thing ever. It's not new. I thought it might be new. It's not new because Magnavox Odyssey originally came with, I believe, 4 C or D batteries, and it didn't have the batteries. But other than the batteries, everything else is amazing. And then I guess my second best thing would be, or maybe my best thing, Charamara Zelda, which is a Zelda contest cartridge that came out. Is either right when The Legend of Zelda was released or shortly before, like maybe a month before The Legend of Zelda was released on the Famicom Disk System. There were 1,500 copies of Zelda given away by a ramen noodles company, and they have a different label, but otherwise it's exactly the same game. And it was also maybe my most stressful purchase of the year, because in February, one was Bought It Now on eBay for $1,000 by a preservationist who I think they sent it to Frank Cifaldi. They're like, hey, what's this? Make sure this is the exact same thing as Famicom Legend of Zelda. And so that was February. When I bought it was probably summer, and prices between February and summer just literally doubled and exploded across the board. So I'm like, oh my God, is this thing going to go for $2,000? It showed up on Yahoo Auctions, and I put in an obscene high bid for it. The minimum bid was something like $275, and I was the only person who bid on it, and I was extremely happy to get it for much less than my high bid. It is so hard to know these days what is going to explode in price and what is going to go down or stay the same. So I was very happy with that.
Yeah, that is a very cool purchase. I'm not gonna dump on it because it's, Famicom stuff. That is genuinely cool. I would like that. Please send it to me.
Send me that Blockbuster World Championships.
Oh, that sounds like a fair trade.
No, it's not a fair trade. I don't want that. I want the Ninja Gaiden 3 Proto. Sorry, Johnny.
Okay, fair enough.
Also, everyone, remember to build those relationships and plant those seeds. So everybody, send Stefan a private message and say like, "Hey, Stefan, whenever you're thinking about selling that Final Fantasy, I'm your guy. And if 200 of you do it, one of you might be picked."
Yeah, no.
You guys,
we're just planting the seed, Stefan. Even if you never
you
sell
make the joke,
stuff.
but that is like, how many times has that worked for you? If you've seen someone get something like pretty cool, and you're like, if you ever decide to move away from that, you let me know, and let me know before you move it, and because I might be interested. How many times has that worked for you? Because that works for me, like more often than I would think. Because like
Yeah.
usually someone's like they're new shiny, they're never going to move from it, and then all of a sudden 2 years later you get like an email and you're like, oh okay, cool.
Yep. Everybody says they're never going to sell something until they do.
Right.
It's true. And
So-
Stefan's never changed what he's collected, though, so he's probably going to hold on to all his stuff forever. But that's
Yeah, we'll see.
good.
Your problem now, though, is that most of my collection is bequeathed to a museum, so that's...
You don't have to follow
that's-
through with that.
no, I know, but I'm going to.
I mean, you don't have to. Maybe your daughter wants it. Maybe it goes to
know.
her before them.
Maybe it does.
I don't care about those people. I'm here for your stuff. I can't.
Yeah, and if anyone's getting that Blockbuster World Championship cartridge, it's me, so... Sorry, Tyler.
we'll
That's
see.
fine. I want a New Leaf more than I want the Blockbuster World Championships.
You know, New Leaf was part of Blockbuster. To have the Blockbuster set, you need all of it.
I know, but
True.
I feel like New Leaf is more retail video game, even though it's not, but it's closer. So it's more in line with what I collect.
Okay.
I haven't
All
seen
right.
I haven't seen a Blockbuster for sale in like years, Johnny.
Forever.
Who knows
Forever.
what that thing is worth? Do like the
I-
people who came in the past couple of years even know that exists?
I don't know. And like, but
Unless they
do they
listen to
even
this
care
show.
because it's Sega?
Yeah, that's true. Forget
That
Sega.
is
Whatever. It might as well be a Sega Master System cartridge.
It might as well be. Like, who gives? We know who cares, and we appreciate the ones who do. All right, I'm gonna go into my Best Buy, and it's a commute. I can't talk all of a sudden. It's a bunch of purchases. It's not just one. This year I was, neck deep into PS1, and I said I was going to complete it. If you listen to last year's show, that's one of the goals I said I would do, and I'll talk more about that later. But my best purchase was deciding to do that, like, at the beginning of the year, saying, I'm going to do this before we get to the summer, and I wound up completing it in March, like in the very early part of March. And I am really glad I did, because PlayStation games doubled in price. And a lot of the games that were on my list, were not they weren't common. They were uncommon, but not expensive. And then when people found they could not buy those and they were looking for them, the price even increased even further. So it didn't go up 1 or 2 steps. It went up like 3 or 4 steps on a lot of the games I had to buy, because I was down like 200 games. I went crazy and just said I'm doing this, I'm completing it, or like 100. I can't remember exactly. I did a whole episode where I talked about what I bought. But that was all pre-coronavirus. So my best purchase this year was really making the decision just to complete that set. And I think that can be said for anyone who completed a set before coronavirus happened. Also, worse decision was probably to still continue to collect sets, because that's always not a great idea. But I do have one individual purchase that, and we can maybe, when we talk about most shameful, our favorite purchase, but this was just a game I did not think I was going to get. I lost an auction for it at $350, and it's the stupid Grinch, the PS1 Grinch Christmas edition, where it comes with a book, the Grinch and
Yep.
Barrett book. So it comes in
we have talked about
bigger
that a
out-of-box.
weird amount of times on the show.
Yeah, because I I wanted it a lot, right? But I didn't. It's also something I got this year, and I got it for $49.
Nice.
Good.
It came up as a buy it now. This was back in May of all time. And I was just randomly there, and I was like, what is happening? Is this it came up in my notifications? I'm like, really? I almost deleted it from my save search because I didn't think I would ever get to it. And then suddenly it was there, and I bought it after losing that auction. I'd even told, Eric, Excite by Games, I'm like, yeah, lost the auction for it. I'll, if it's going for over $300, I'm just not going to buy it. It's just not that cool. It's not $300 cool. But to get it for $50 was that was generally just a purchase that I was pumping the fist for, I can't believe this happened. Not that it's the world's greatest deal or even that many people care about this game specifically, but me, I like to collect things around Christmas themes and Halloween themes. And that was a good one for me to get. I was very excited about that. So that's it. Those are my humble little purchases. Just humbly 200-ish, 100-ish PS1 games. Kind of gross.
Totally
They
normal,
were all normal stuff. Anyways, guys, that was our best and worst. But I want more than this. I want to know, what was the most expensive thing you bought this year? Did you go crazy? Is there anything? Did you do anything nuts this year? We'll go to Tyler because Stefan.
My Odyssey, I think, is the most expensive because it was $750. It is really hard to price a Magnavox Odyssey because it is 100% dependent on completeness and condition, and you will see them literally all over the place on eBay. I think the best thing to do is to buy 2 incomplete ones because the incomplete ones tend to be pretty cheap. But yeah, $750. I think that's far and away the most expensive thing I bought. Because whenever I look at like the crazy expensive stuff, like the Heritage Auctions World, whatever that, people are spending thousands of dollars on video games. I could think of 8 like $200-$300 games, which are like banger $200-$300 games that I would rather own than, I can't even think, shrink wrapped Space Invaders on Atari 2600.
Did you not get your Sealed Ocarina this year, or was that last year?
That was December 30th, 2019.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was in the last show I checked.
Okay. So question for you though. $750 is a lot of money. It's objectively a lot of money, but would you say that is lower than previous years? Is that like did you buy anything bigger than that? Or is this like a very high price item for you in general?
Yeah, I mean, that's an extremely high priced item. So lower than last year, because I think my Ocarina of Time was $1,600. Like the year before that, I can't even fathom spending over like $500 for a video game thing. So the year before that, I probably would have made some joke about a pinball machine. So the thing is, this year, in terms of spending, because I've kind of shifted to games that are individually cool for being some rare or early variant, I've definitely bought a lot more $100 plus games than like loaded up on $20 games. So my average purchase is way up because I'm buying games like that, but I'm not like going through the roof on a single item.
Okay. How much was your Hagan? Because you got like a really nice copy of that you looked for forever. I was surprised that like actually wasn't in your best purchase list because you just looked forever.
You're right. That was like $500, I think, for the loose cart. I wouldn't call it my best purchase only because it's not like 10 out of 10. It's like 7.5 out of 10. It's got like a little bit of edgeware. And I really wanted to get a super nice one, and I couldn't find it. I basically had to settle because the deal was too good to pass up.
Okay. All right, Stefan, are you ready to come in here and hurt feelings?
Yeah, I guess.
But I'll preface it for you. It's museum stuff, guys. It's like 101 stuff. So
yeah. Well,
so separate your expectation from Hagan. And the Grinch to what Stefan does, because we're not in the same lane.
Yeah. So this was it was an art purchase for Nintendo Power Art. When you break it down, the grouping was for a bulk lot of 114 pieces. And so when you break it down, it was only around $175 a piece, which is incredible when you're buying original art, like absolutely incredible. But if you do the math, that turned out to be about $20,000. So it was a single purchase from a collector. That was, again, it was $175 for each individual piece, but there were 114 pieces. So that far and away was my single largest purchase of the year.
Now, let me ask you, aside from that, was there any other single item that was more than that you can get into or that you want to?
So the prototype lot.
No, not lots. Not lots. Like just one item. Well, like, was there one thing that you just said, yep, and dropped a chunk of change?
Not in cash value.
Okay.
There were some things that were like for services rendered, where like, for instance, I took on a multiple items. Some of them would be flagged for me to then resell, and then like my service fee for reselling them was the other items, right? Like that was actually the way that that prototype lot worked. Was that also included in the 16th game in that prototype lot was a Nintendo World Championships cartridge. And so I then sold that piece on behalf of the of the individual, and my finder's fee were the other games in that lot. So if you would have, broken that, obviously the NWC sold for an absorbent amount of money. So if you would to say that that's what I paid for those, then yes, that was an incredible amount of money.
Yeah.
But there was no actual like cash in hand transfer there.
Yeah, this wasn't like a year where you bought like a stupid Power Glove sign and spent too much money on it.
No, $12,000 for a Power Glove sign? No.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. That's what I was letting the audience know about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff. I do a lot it's sort of like consignment. I do work a lot with people that way. When, especially when I find high value items that are things like I already have, that kind of thing. Then, I'm more than happy to, broker a deal on someone's behalf and then, take on other items as payment. Okay, so let's move over to, because I know we're talking a lot about what we bought. And usually that's like an end of show thing, but let's wrap that kind of stuff up with what is the most shameful thing? And it's not like the worst purchase, but like what thing did you buy and you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe I bought this stupid thing. And you don't even like really want to put it on the shelf or display it or really let people know that you bought it.
I like most of my shameful stuff. You guys really don't like my Nokia 6190 phone inbox, which is the first American Nokia phone with Snake on it. I'm looking for the European variant because Nokia is a European company, of course. So I need the real first print of Snake. But that is a pretty dumb thing. That was like $15. Great purchase, but
yeah. It's not like your worst purchase. It's not like lost a ton of money. It's just like so silly and like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess I have the same shameful purchases as I did last year. I'm gonna say the random sealed that I just didn't need, but it's cheap and available, and like, why not? Because video games just FOMO everything. Like Deal Tavern. Violetta Rhythm and Music for the Wii. That one's kind of cool. So Violetta Rhythm and Music, you can buy it on Deal Tavern right now for $40. It never had a retail release. So it's literally a Nintendo Wii game that you can only buy through Deal Tavern. And you don't know if he's got 200 of them or 20,000 of them, and they'll just be for sale forever. But beyond that, like I bought Sabrina Spooked, kind of just because I bought like Batman Forever and Stargate on Sega Genesis from Deal Tavern. And those were like $30 each for sealed Genesis games. Like it in my brain, it's like $30 for a sealed Genesis game. It's a Batman licensed game. Like, why not buy that? But at the same time, it does nothing for my collection. Like I 100% don't care about owning it. And then I bought a couple like enormous boxes of sealed Atari games as part of my Atari FOMO panic, which turned out to be excellent, but still somewhat shameful because they're Atari games. So to recap, for anyone who's not paying attention to what's going on in the Atari world, which is an excellent thing to do, Atari prices basically went from zero to randomly hundreds of dollars, but people don't really know how to price things or what to pay because they're still not really worth anything and prices are all over the place. I don't know how better to describe it. No price for any Atari item makes any sense right now. But I basically, there are like 3 or 4 big distributors that you can still buy new old stock Atari stuff from. And most of their games are like $10-20. So usually when I wanted an Atari game, or I wanted a few Atari games, I would just go to the like distributors and be like, let me put in an order for these 10 games. It'll be $100. They'll probably get free shipping on that. And that would actually, it's cheaper to buy them brand new from a distributor than to buy them complete in box on eBay. So I would just buy new Atari games. And I forgot what the impetus was, but was it like Spider-Man? It was probably Spider-Man 2600. And it was like, people are going to go nuts for Atari games. I got to basically put in my last few orders before everything goes to hell. So I bought dozens and dozens of sealed $10, $20 Atari games. And very shameful. But at the same time, a lot of that stuff is now out of stock, or they've increased the price from like $10 to $20. And no one wants to pay $20 for a game that they used to pay $10 for. So I don't know. That stuff's all very dumb, and I think you guys will agree.
Yeah. Now, do you have a singular item? Singular item, again, not best purchase, but do you have something that is your favorite thing you bought this year? Or is it the Magnavox?
I mean, it's the Odyssey, or probably the Zelda, just because people are going to care about Zelda more than a Magnavox Odyssey.
Okay. Just wanted to ask. All right, Stefan, did you shame yourself at all?
Yeah. And this isn't.
I mean, no, hold on. Let me, as it relates to this podcast, not in
Yes.
your general life.
Yes, and this is something you guys have consistently shamed me about it since the day I bought it. And it's not necessarily what the item is, as much as it was my motivation for acquiring it. So, I purchased a signed copy of Jeopardy! For the NES, a signed Jeopardy cartridge, signed by Alex
who?
Trebek.
It's not signed by Jeopardy, right?
No. Signed by Alex Trebek. But the timing of it was a little sus. So
You're like, Alex Trebek's got cancer? Better buy this quick.
Yeah, so essentially I chose to pull the trigger on that item when he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And that was my motivation for the timing of that purchase. Now that he is dead, doesn't really feel good. Not gonna lie, doesn't feel great. But it is what it is. It happened, and obviously, as you can probably tell with how awkwardly I'm telling the story, I don't feel great about that. And it's pretty shameful.
Okay. Yeah, Stefan, I have a story. Related to this Jeopardy thing. Like, inherently, I know, like, dead people autographs, especially when they haven't signed, like, a billion things at conventions and stuff. Like, a Babe Ruth autograph, it's a cool thing because he didn't sign a ton of stuff. Just a few days ago, I got an autograph in the mail from Chum Lee from Pawn Stars. This isn't something I bought. This was just something that was sent to me. And literally, I took a look at it, and the first thing I thought was, like, oh, this is going to be cool once Chum Lee dies, just because of what Stefan does with his autographs.
That is so gross. Look, I'm not going to go into, like, if it's wrong or right monetarily to, like, speculate on people who may die and getting their autograph. There was a lot of people who were doing that around Stan Lee. And, some people doing it for earnest reasons, like, oh my God, I love everything Stan Lee. I want to get books signed by him because I know I won't have a chance again. It was, as we've said in this show, be opportunistic in buying. It was just like, oh, they have cancer now, huh? Better get that autograph. That seems like a good buy. It's that mentality which got me about it.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it was terminal cancer, so it wasn't he might die.
Sorry.
Yeah.
He's definitely gonna die.
He's
like,
definitely
I should rub your hands.
100% gonna die.
If it's something that you want, which I think it was, like, I 100% agree with the reasoning. It's just like saying it out loud is like, oh man,
yeah, it was. It wasn't the first time that I'd looked at them because this seller had a couple cartridges and they had been there for quite some time, and it was one of those things where I had occasionally been like, oh yeah, that's something that would be really cool. And because I also love the idea, the same reason why I love like CGC Signature Series stuff on comic books is the ability to take a comic book that's like not worth very much and turn it into a cool collectible. I really like that phenomenon. And so like there's very few NES cartridges that have lower value than Jeopardy, I think. And so it was just another one of those things where it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. It takes something that's virtually worthless and makes it a cool collectible. So I had definitely thought about it a number of times, but the like solidifying onus for me doing it at that moment was because he had gotten cancer. So
great buy. Good
shame
job.
on me.
So shameful purchases, I didn't really do anything super shameful this year. There wasn't anything I was like, ugh. But, outside of my norm, in Halloween purchases, I'm going to tell you, I bought a TRS-80 game, and that felt weird and cool. Out of place. I know you, Tyler, you think it's cool, but I'm like, really? And also, like, I bought some Puffy stickers, which was like, why the hell am I buying Puffy stickers?
Those were neat.
Like, they are neat. That's the problem, is I genuinely like both of the things I bought, but neither of them helped me with my goals. They look like really out of place. I also bought like some Commodore 64. I just bought some weird stuff around Halloween. It was just like, okay, I'm just buying whatever. Okay, that's what I bought this year. Fine.
I like when you buy computer games because it does add to your goals. It adds to your goal of having a Halloween game collection or having a Christmas game collection. And it makes me feel like you're breaking out of your comfort zone. You're like, I got to buy a Commodore game. I
did. What's funny? My favorite purchase of the year is actually tied into this, Tyler, and you'll like it. And also, a TRS-80 game. It's the Poltergeist game, which, like, I've never seen anyone else post it, right? Have you ever seen anyone else post the TRS-80
Not at all.
Poltergeist? So, right. Well, I live in, Simi Valley where the Poltergeist house is. That's like where it was filmed. So, and if you lived here long enough, you know about the house and people like drive by and visit it, like take a picture. So it was like really cool for me, especially like it's Halloween and I got to post it on Halloween. Like, I wasn't sure if it was going to arrive in the mail on time when I finally found a good copy. Like, to be able to take it up to the house, take a picture of it in front of the house and be like, cool. Especially like during coronavirus and stuff, people weren't like super appreciative of like people just wandering around their neighborhoods that they don't know. But that was really cool. That was actually my favorite purchase, but also in the realm of like weird shame. And Stefan, I know we talked about this and I can't remember when we did it, but I bought the Magical Chase from you. Did I do that at the end of last year, at the beginning of this year?
You mentioned that in last year's recap episode.
Did I? Okay.
Both of you said that your most expensive purchases were from me, which was funny.
Oh, yeah. So that must have been
I bought
at the
Outback
very
Joey
end.
last year. Jeez,
You did.
last year I spent so much money. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was 19.
Do you guys want to know something about like the TRS-80 boxes?
Yes.
Sure.
So, like Poltergeist, if you were looking for one, and there's multiple style of TRS-80 games. So, like, this is just like the cart one. They come in like these silver boxes that kind of look like CRT shaped, kind of. That's how I imagine them looking. And maybe it's just because Poltergeist is sitting in it, and that always reminds me of a CRT television. But that box is pretty much like a universal box. So, if you can find the cartridge for Poltergeist, if one of these games, if you were looking on that system for something very expensive, that box is just a box. It just says like Radio Shack on it. And that's it. It's just a silver box. It doesn't say like Poltergeist or anything. There are different styles of box, so you want to make sure you get the right one, but you could cobble together from a cheaper game. Like, you could find like, say, a Poltergeist cart for $25 and then like a $15 game complete in box, and then put them together, and then suddenly it's like $150 Poltergeist game.
I think TI-99,
So,
probably there are other computers from the same era. TI-99 might be the same way. It's just an outer box that says application software and has a cutout, and then it shows the manual of the game. And like TI-99 new old stock is everywhere. So if you have like an ugly box, just buy like a new old stock Hunt the Wampus or like addition and subtraction, and
that's exactly what these do. You do need to find it with the manual, but if you didn't have the manual, the label of the game is usually the same in the cutout. Like, I don't know if they fit exactly. I haven't done a lot of research on TRS-80 games, guys. Sorry. But that's something you could do, because I was like looking at these Poltergeists for a long time, and I was like, am I going to, like, the only ones on eBay were like $299 or $200. Like, I was like, I really want to do this, but is this worth it for this like one picture that only I'm going to care about? It virtually got no likes on Instagram, because why would it? One, you had to read to understand that I was in front of the Poltergeist house. I just look like I'm taking a picture outside.
Two, it wasn't Mario 3.
Yeah, it wasn't Mario 3. It was a TRS-80 game. So like, am I really going to spend $299? So when I found out about that, and the box came and the game came on the same day, they came on October 30th, and I could get out for the picture on October 31st. I was relieved. So it worked out. But anyways, favorite purchases. Now, probably where we should have started, more relevant to the episodes itself. That was about us as collectors. But let's talk.
I don't think I did my favorite purchase.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was your favorite? Like favorite, again, same caveats, doesn't need to be best.
Right, not value contingent.
Yeah.
I talked about this a couple times. A lot of times when I do art purchases, I don't mention the artist's name, and one of the ones that I was very vocal about, because he has unfortunately left us, is Dan McGowan, who was a cover artist for Nintendo Power Magazine. He basically did so there were two artists predominantly that did all the painted covers, or almost all the painted covers, and the other artist is with us and does not like to be named, so I will not. But Dan left us due to had a very long bout with cancer in 2008, I think. But I was able to this year connect with his estate, and we were able to rehome almost all of his covers, the original art for his covers, into my archive. So while not the most expensive purchase, it was probably my favorite, just because I was able to, first of all, that as far as like an example of my process really like showing fruit, like I put in all of the work, I do all of the homework, I find all of the leads. It was a very, very, very long and difficult process to even find his people related to his estate, but I did, and I was able to get the Tetris cover, the Wile E. Coyote cover, the Secret of Mana cover, the Magical Quest cover, the I know I'm missing some. But anyway, that just goes to show like the caliber of covers that I was able to rehome from that collection. So it really, I am devastatingly concerned about artists passing away and then their art evaporating, or their children throwing it away, or whatever, being sold at yard sales, et cetera, et cetera. So to have that be the case where an artist did pass away and then still being able to kind of bring that art back from the brink, that was far and away my favorite thing that happened this year.
Nice. Okay.
Good stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, that was good stuff.
You're saving this stuff, Stefan. You're rehoming it to your house. But yes, it's still great.
Okay, guys, like I said, what we probably should have talked about first, like least favorite and most favorite, and we can say or worst and best episode that we did. And you can tell me if it was just like you were uncomfortable doing it, or you didn't like the topic, and that's fine. Or if you thought we did a bad job, like whatever your caveat is for, let me know. But Tyler, let's start with you and go with least or worst episode this year.
My least favorite would usually be a holiday episode, because I don't like the forced themes, but I feel like we've really cut back on doing like a lot of those, like multiple same or similar topics in the same season.
I've been spicing it up too. I've been putting some work into making it better for you.
Okay. I will say the coronavirus episode, I don't even remember what it was. I just remember us going into detail for an hour on why we thought coronavirus was going to cause the video game market to crash. And within like
Not
a
crash,
month,
but just like lower.
Go dip, have the video game recession of 2020.
It's
and
episode 140, coronavirus impact on the video game market.
It has probably been the single craziest, most outlier year of video game collecting ever.
Ever.
So
couldn't have been more wrong.
Yes. So I'll probably go with that. I also don't remember the double pack episode at all. So shout out to that, because I don't remember it, because this year has been so long.
That's 2 for 1. Yeah, that was episode 139. But to be fair, like that episode is the marker, like right before your side quest episodes, which you actually recorded before that. And then we hit episode 140 where everything is happening. Everything devastating is happening. Tyler, you're out there like trying to be on your honeymoon at this point, like right before we do the double pack episode and your wedding and everything. And then coronavirus hits during all of that. So how could you, like, the fact that you can even remember we did a coronavirus episode is remarkable.
It's true.
Like,
it's probably because we keep
quest?
getting chances to bring it up when we bring up like record sales and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, I'm going to let us off the hook a little bit for that, because this, like, the trend makes no sense. How do you have the highest unemployment and then like just the highest also collectible game sales? We weren't the only people who got this wrong. It's not like we are just a bunch of idiots. Like everyone making economic predictions, like as far as markets, just like 100% wrong. Stocks went crazy later. Like it did take a dip. Remember when we first started, it was taking a dip and then people decided to go the other way with it. They're like, oh yeah, lean
What
into
if
the
we
turn,
just
guys.
made everything more expensive instead of less expensive, Johnny?
Yeah. Nah, it. Government stimulus check, $600 is going to do us great, or $1,200, whatever it was. Some tiny insignificant amount. And people are like, let's go nuts. And you're like, oh, what just happened? No, we were very wrong. Very, very wrong. Stefan, let's go to you.
Let's get back on that death train. Episode 138, The Death Effect, was not my favorite.
Oh,
Why?
we did an okay job.
Yeah, I thought that was actually a really informative, good, well thought out episode where we talked about something that's important. Why would you categorize it as your least favorite episode?
Yeah, so I mean, this for people who don't, this was an episode about. This was shortly after Kobe Bryant had suddenly died, and the phenomenon that like all of his games were spiking, and so we had an episode on the death effect. And while smartly researched and well executed, the content was not ringing true for me. Not only because of that, my feel good story with Alex Trebek, but then also like in the not too distant past, my wife had passed away, and so I just like was not feeling the topic. And that's it.
All right. So it wasn't all because you were like rubbing your hands together as you bought Alex Trebek games.
No, it wasn't. Yeah.
You mean you had a bigger reason?
Yes.
So, and to be clear, it wasn't because you think the episode is bad. It was just uncomfortable for you during the time frame.
Yeah, same thing with like, I mean, talking about uncomfortability. I think last year my pick for worst was also an uncomfortable reason, where it was the collector's quiz. I think, right?
You mentioned just the anxiety it gives you.
Right. Yeah, I'm not a fan of quizzes. Or real-time testing of any kind, and so that just made me, that whole scenario makes me uncomfortable. And so while it was a well-executed episode, and I think probably some people's favorites, it was not at all mine. So yeah, similarly, well-executed episode, well-researched, well done, but I was not feeling the content at the time.
Fair. Oh, that's fair. And that's fine. You can have least favorites for whatever you reason. I'm not here to disagree with your reasonings for least favorites. I'm just asking. And I'm sure, and you guys can please do tell us where did we miss for you guys? Where were you like that episode didn't hit me right? The last episode, 5 Golden Things didn't hit some people right. They expected it to be more Christmassy. Some people liked it. Tyler liked it better, but I liked it. I liked what we did with that episode, but it wasn't for everyone.
Someone gave us feedback that it was too angry or something.
Yeah.
Were we angry?
They said, we weren't in the spirit. It seemed like we were hateful towards kind of sealed collectors and it didn't feel jolly enough, but I was in a really good mood while we were doing that episode. So I don't know. Maybe that just didn't come through. I liked kind of flipping up the format like that, still keeping it a little bit with Christmas in mind, but also still talking to collectors about things that we feel are true. I'm not going to back down from saying that I like that episode, but if you didn't like it, that's fine. Tell us why you don't like episodes if you don't like them. I genuinely like feedback. I'm going to listen to it. Honestly, I will tell you why I did things or why we did things, but that doesn't always mean I'm going to change what we do. I might have my reasons or us as a team, we have our reasons for how or why we do things, or if we think they're important. It doesn't mean that we are going to change our minds for people or not do an episode because someone hated it. That's not what we're doing, but I will listen to all feedback. Feedback is a valuable tool to get better. Just be constructive. Don't at me with you fucking suck. That's not great criticism. I mean, you can. I will ignore it. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I'm okay. But yeah, I'm okay with criticism. Guys, now let's step away from criticism and let's do some back patting here. Best episode. Stefan, I'll let you go back to back here. What was, did I say my least favorite episode? I did not.
You didn't.
I agree with Tyler, the coronavirus episode, just because holy shit, we got that wrong. Not our fault, but we got it wrong. Anyways, best episode. Stefan, what was the best episode we did or your favorite one we did this year?
I really like our So You Collect stuff, or So You Want to Collect series, and we hadn't done one in a while, and so I think it was a good return to form. Also, I like episodes in which all three of us are very knowledgeable on a subject, and so that's 147. So You Want to Collect Super Nintendo is going to be my best. Only because, like I said, all three of us have Super Nintendo sets. We are very storied and knowledgeable on the topic, and so it felt very effortless. I enjoyed our time on that one, and it wasn't preceded by a mountain of research that night. So yeah, I think it was a home run on that one. I love the format. It was something that we all are passionate collectors for and have a lot of knowledge about. So it was very effortless and yeah, it's my favorite.
Fair enough. Tyler?
I think I'm going to have the same one as you, Johnny. It's all your lists are bad. As much as I like the Super Nintendo episode and the Castlevania episode because of how informative they are, these past couple of years, like we've had, I guess throughout video games, we've had kind of de facto lists of games that people take without question, like the Mike Etler list or Nintendo Age lists. And now we're in this nebulous void where even though the Nintendo Age list isn't perfect, it doesn't exist anymore. There's kind of no thing you could point to as the list, except for lists people have floating around in apps or spreadsheets. So I really like the idea of telling people, start documenting everything, because we're in the wasteland, we're in the end times, and you need to have a list that you are personally happy with, because there is no ultimate source. And I like that message.
Well, and I'm going to agree with you. It's episode 141, but it's more than that too. In this age where investing has become a thing, knowing precisely what the things are, like so you can find variants, like being precise is very important. Like how often did we mess up, like in the Mario episode, just getting first print and second print wrong? Like we get like minor details wrong like pretty frequently. I mean, that's everybody. But knowing exactly and having good lists will prevent a lot of that. And a lot of like things that we'll get wrong is just because we've absorbed all this knowledge over so much time and no one has ever questioned it. So we're just regurgitating the things we thought we learned that were right, and they're not. And they've never been challenged. And most of those people will just learn from lists or whatever. So coming back to that and really fighting against, normative behavior a little bit and trying to make it better, especially in a world where all of the smallest differences make the biggest impact, especially when it comes to something like price of an item. That's becoming more and more important. So yeah, I agree with everything you said, and I really liked that episode. Also, it did make me feel a good deal of anxiety though, just because thinking about lists, and like all of my lists are still bad. This isn't just calling out anybody else, but my lists are bad. All the website lists are bad. Like we need like better documentation for everything, because so many other hobbies have so much better documentation than we do. And video game collecting is a little weird because there's so many apps. Like there's so much stuff available online, apps and like stuff you can find. Like if you go into toys, like toys is a weird nebulous zone. Their documentation of like variants is like sometimes good, sometimes bad. Even something like Star Wars, like in figures, vintage figures, the documentation is here and there. It's like sometimes good, like sometimes really good and like really precise. And then other times like people don't care. And like the way it's bought and traded, people don't like really observe those variants because they're just looking at this list. It's crazy that an older hobby has a less defined technology. So video games are in that space where, we have all this apps and stuff. So I'd really love it all to be right, especially since everybody just copies everything. So the more right we can get everything, instead of being wrong and then just copying our wrongness for all time, that would make it better.
The problem is it's really easy to copy a list and get 80% of the way there and put out your app for $3 or whatever. And everyone's just fine with it because you know what? Most people in the world want 677 NES games, and they don't care about they don't care about 3 screw versus 5 screw variants or whatever your Seal of Quality or Friday the 13th have. They just don't need to know that.
That's true. No, I agree. And it's not like one person can't tackle it all. You know, someone's got to. You have to have like a few people that are like really working on one system specifically, and then like document, and they need to share. But you know, information is power. It's money. It's something you can wield with authority, and then make informed purchases where other people will not, so you can benefit. So I get why a lot of people don't share it, but I wish more people did.
The thing is,
Tyler knows the secret lists.
It can't just be one person. But I think that in many other hobbies, there's been the moment where someone came out with a book or a catalog, and maybe they've had a team of people helping them with it, but it's been like the Scott Stamp catalog or the guy who made that picture guide to comic books. And it's been like the one guy who's like, we need to stop f***ing around, and everybody just, this is everything that exists. Let's work from here. And they actually like made a definitive guide.
That's true. Somebody with more resources and time and money than me needs to be that guy.
Someone who truly believes in the collectability of video games and thinks that, I don't know, they can make money by having the most variant knowledge. I think Go Collect thinks they're going to be that, but I don't know. We'll see, because they're starting with Nintendo Ages base, and honestly, like, they kind of need to start from scratch and start over, I think, is the best way to handle it. We'll see if they just become regurgitated Nintendo Age info or if they're really going deep on everything.
I mean, they have game value now, right? So, and they're expanding some of their stuff. It's getting a little better. We'll see, though. Like, we've panned Go Collect quite a bit because they deserve it for the way some of the things have been handled. But I'm fully willing to like change my mind. That's the other thing. I am a person who is willing to change my mind when better information is presented. If Go Collect comes around and they have the best thing and they want to charge a subscription fee for it, and it actually is good and informative and powerful information, or allows people to add and they like source it, like, I'm willing to help and get behind that endeavor. I'm not going to just sit here and, shit all over them, talk bad about them, and then not be willing to do anything if there's an opportunity. But so far it hasn't panned out exactly as I would have liked it to. I hope they do, or I hope someone else does. And, where I can help with little bits, sure. We've talked about like the WATA black box list that they put out. Like, that was really good, but we need more of that. Like, almost every game needs like that kind of attention to detail. Maybe you're not going to have all the variants, but if it was some digital catalog that could say, I don't know, be updated, and then everyone would be updated all at once instead of no one knowing except for like 4 people, that would be sweet. Let's get to that point. That's where I want to live. The future.
I'll see you in 2021 when Go Collect is definitely coming out with their video game product, guys.
Okay. Like, I'm willing to take it for a spin. I'm willing to do a review of it. So that's our best and worst episodes. What else we got here, guys? Most informative. I think we kind of covered that a little bit.
It's probably going to be the So You Want to Collect episodes, because those are just nothing but 3 hours of information.
Yeah, I agree with that. Anything that says So You Want to Collect, but Stefan also has a different answer. So Stefan.
Sure. Yeah. And this may be a little self-serving. It actually is absolutely a little self-serving. Mm-hmm. But side quest number 2, social strategies, I think was.
Could you explain what that is?
Sure. It was basically we've actually already touched a little bit about my processes on this episode, actually talking about it earlier. But that was the first episode where I really kind of showed my hand a little bit and explained to people ways to help them on their path towards essentially being able to buy things that are not for sale. Or things that are incredibly rare, or things that are one of a kind, that kind of thing. I get every single time I post something that is one of a kind or very rare, the question of how I did that gets brought up. And so it allowed me to really kind of coach people on that topic without being like incredibly specific to the point where I was like creating my own competition kind of thing. But it allowed me to really kind of give people a good baseline for strategies on essentially mostly how to talk to people, and not necessarily finding people, but once you do, how you handle that situation. So yeah, I loved that episode. Not only did I think it was incredibly informative in a vacuum, but also just like it was the first time that I really kind of put myself out there and talked a little bit about my processes and sort of my lessons learned on this path. So yeah, that was my most informative.
I'm going to let you off the hook a little bit because I think it's a valuable episode for people to listen to. But I just want you to know your most informative episode of the year was the one where you just talked for 30 minutes.
Yep.
38 minutes.
Johnny, I think this show is more informative when both of us are off the show.
Yeah. That's what Stefan just told us, right?
All right, I'm about to leave. Let me know. I'm going to leave right now and then go back and listen to this episode. I just want to learn about like all the weird variants and all the cool information on buying video
learn
games.
how much more informative how much more informative the episode gets when you leave.
Yeah. I want to know.
Yeah.
It is a good episode. Most informative? All right, I'm going to let you slide. I'm not going to go over it too much. All right. Okay, that's pretty much all of the big questions that I wanted to talk about the episodes. But let's look into the future. 2021 is knocking at the door. We are still in the midst of a pandemic. If you live in the LA area like Stefan and I do, it's like coronavirus capital of the world right now. So that's still like a thing. It's still impacting us. It's not over. Like vaccines are coming out and stuff. Maybe soon we will be at a place where we're getting beyond that. So, given that knowledge, Stefan, what do you predict? Like any trends coming forward? Do you view any trend or something that's going to continue? That's going on now? Any predictions? Put on your Swami hat and just really let loose.
I've got a trend that's happening now that I really, really wish would stop.
Well, we'll talk about what we thought the worst trends of the year, but do you see anything coming in the future?
It's just... The thing is that I think at some point we all were like, okay, well, as soon as the vaccine gets here, everything's going back to normal or some semblance of normal. And it doesn't feel like that because you have, even the like medical experts are like, well, if you're gonna, once you get the vaccine, like still socially distance, still wear your mask. Like, I just don't know. I don't think it's going to be like everyone has herd immunity. And so we're just going to open everything back up. And like, so I guess I don't know what's happening now well enough to predict the immediate future, like as far as like, okay, well, because so much is going to hinge on the vaccine, maybe or maybe not. Like if it's just more of the same and we're all things are still shut down because everyone's, whatever, for whatever reason. I don't want to get into too much of that. But, if things don't open back up, like what is that impact going to look like? Are we going to see, we're going to get stimulus checks, and not that they're as robust as they were, but that's still like, I think last time we talked about the stimulus checks, it's like, we were surmising that there was a disproportionate amount of people that were pouring that stimulus money into the hobby, right?
Right.
And is that going to happen again? So are we on the cusp of another like boom?
Well,
because people got $600 in their pocket?
Don't make so many wishy-washy statements. Tell me, is it happening? Just say it. Stimulus checks making another little bubble. Is that happening, Stefan?
Yes. I will say it will. Probably not as heavy as it was last time because again we're getting half the money. But yeah, I think people who were especially like because with that bill that was just signed, also comes with kind of the re-upping of the unemployment benefits and the additional stipend and stuff like that. So I think there are people who were super, super concerned about their immediate future that may be a little less concerned about their immediate future for at least for a little while. So yeah, I think we will see probably another little bit of a bubble here in a couple weeks.
I think, and I'll throw in on that just to expand. We could see a little more of that too, because right after that, we're going to start to get into tax season. And we always kind of see a little bump, people got a little extra money or something that say throw it at their hobbies when they get that tax check back. Not me, because I always pay money because I hate myself. And I love to pay the government. It's just my favoriteest thing. Anyways, it has to do with the way my wife is paid. It's super annoying. We can never speculate exactly how much we're going to owe the government, but we will. We will owe them. But that's going to, for most people, that's another little influx of cash that's going to happen. So I think you could be right there. Tyler, do you have any bold predictions? Do you know anything that's going to happen in the future as far as it pertains to games?
If you look at the price graphs for garbage, I'm hoping that keeps up. I'm sorry, by garbage. If you look at the price graphs for consoles, modern consoles like GameCube and PlayStation 2, I didn't even realize as I was saying that I was saying the word garbage. Modern DVD-based consoles, I will say, they sort of peaked in the fall, and they've steadily been coming down a little bit. I am hoping that they get close to the trend line for, the past few years prior. So there's just this huge bubble in 2020. And in the future, we can all look at that bubble and go, man, 2020 was a weird time. And then it kind of went back to normal after that. And like NES, SNES games, N64 games, complete in box, they're made of cardboard. They're pretty available. They're condition sensitive in that. But PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube, those games, there are so many of those games. I just don't see how they could have maintained their coronavirus price levels. Maybe in 10 years, Super Mario Sunshine is consistently selling for $120, but I just don't understand how, relative to everything else in the market, that those more modern games could possibly retain the prices they are at now. You know what? I bet last year I predicted that some of the NES madness would spill over into the other consoles, like maybe Super Nintendo. I kind of don't see it. So I'm in all the groups that Johnny likes to quit, the high-end game rooms, the show up your Wada games. People don't care about Super Nintendo nearly as much. They're not progressing to Super Nintendo. They don't collect video games. They collect NES games. And I think that trend will probably continue to progress. Like Super Mario World, you might see crazy prices for the black box, that like the really popular stuff, sure, but you're not going to see people showing off their sealed Wizard of Oz on Super Nintendo, I don't think. Saying like, "Oh, look at this Hollywood game." As I say that out loud,
of course they won't, because
that is absolutely something that's going to happen. But
there needs to be 48 prints, and one of those prints needs to be very rare.
Yeah. I think it's going to be more stuff like the picture of all the Raid on Bungling Bay sealed variants.
There's also only like the 2 Mario games. They're really, there's like all the educational games, but there's not like, Super Mario 1, 2, and 3.
Super Mario 1, 2, 2, and 3, Johnny. The Super Mario quadrilogy, as we call it. You can't forget about the most important one on the Famicom Disk System. Okay. But Super Nintendo, come on, it's got like Super Mario Kart's the first Mario Kart game. You don't have to fight me about how important the Super Nintendo is. I'm the Super Nintendo guy. Of course, I think it's important. I think people are crazy that they haven't recognized all the series that start there and how important the Super Nintendo is to everything. Just like it like very rarely do you get something like the Nintendo that happens, and then the next thing made it even better. All right,
and that's what the Super Nintendo did.
Yeah, like the series didn't start on Super Nintendo. All the best series were like made better on Super Nintendo.
Well, you have like Mario Kart, right? That's the series that started. Yeah. Earthbound, the series that started and finished there.
Started on Famicom.
Oh, true, but not in America, where things didn't you say that things matter in America? Matter in America?
On a Retro Gem Miner episode, sarcastically, yes.
No, that's not sarcasm. I read the comments.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyways, that's an inside joke. Okay. So any other big trends that you see there? I'm curious that, will, like you said, maybe this flattening and going back to normal, but what does that mean? Do you think the price memory will sit? Like, will these games will it actually be a curve, like that rounds off? Or will it just be a plateau?
It's going to round off, I think. It's already rounded off for some of like the crazier prices, specifically look at like PS2 or GameCube, I think.
Yeah. And N6, like those have dropped but they haven't got anywhere back to where they were by like March. Like,
Yeah, they're not.
do you think over the next year that they'll creep back down to that level, or do you think it'll still stay elevated? Like, will it go to March, like what the prices were around March, or will it stay higher than that?
It's not going to go to March. When things bump up like this, they never go back to their quote unquote normal prices. So I don't really know how far they'll go down, but it is encouraging to see that there is a rounded kind of dip, because almost in the entire history of video game price tracking, there has never been a period where video games go down in price. It has basically been creeping up slowly. You get to 2012, all of a sudden, huge jump. And then 2016, it plateaus, but it doesn't go back down. This is the first time we're actually seeing it go back down. So interesting.
Yeah, but even the downswing, right? We obviously need more time. A lot of, we talk about this a lot on the show. Time is the most important thing to see trends, and we just don't have enough of that. So next year we'll have more, but like really, we need 5 years. You need at least 5 years of data to like look at a good trend line. I think we can make some predictions off of current trends, but like see what actually happened. We just need more data. Yeah, I don't think they'll hit that bottom mark either. I don't have any like super good, bold predictions for you. I don't have a hot take just because the year's too weird. It's too hard to say what is going to happen. I think prices could go up. Like if Stefan is right, with the stimulus check and everything, we could hit another little bubble again and it could go up. Will that be across system wide? Because that was the crazy thing. It wasn't like one system went up. They all went up. Every game system went up significantly, which is crazy. So will that like flatten down? Will it increase a little? Will a dip come like when we get to March and April of this year? Will things start to dip again? Like if we start to get vaccines and herd immunity, which is like a weird thing to have to talk about in relation to video games, but to the point where people are going outside and taking vacations again, will all that money suddenly go back to vacations and then less video game spending? So you start to see, that was like the sell-off that never happened is during the summer. I've talked about one of my favorite things to do is like wait for like right before the summer and get those sales of people who want to go on vacation or come back from vacation and realize they spent a little bit too much money. Didn't happen this year because no one could go anywhere. So I don't know what's going to happen.
That is interesting because I realized that I probably did have a little more money this year because I thankfully maintained my job and I didn't do any travel. Like I'd already budgeted out my honeymoon, but like normally I would be thinking about MagFest and Portland Retro Gaming Expo, and I didn't do any of that. And that money was just like fun money I probably dumped into more video games.
Yeah. I mean, I know I definitely like looked at my Portland money that I normally set aside and said, what am I doing with this? Am I saving it? Am I rolling it over? Or am I spending it on other stuff?
That fairy game on the Nintendo DS.
Yeah, well, that one I got for a whopping $50.
Nice. Good deal,
$59.
I think.
Yeah, I think that was a fine deal. That's
if
Winx
it's a rare
Club
DS game and I recognize it,
yeah.
that means it's something, Johnny. Because I only know like that fairy game and maybe like Jewel Master, whatever that's called.
Yeah, there's like we'll have to talk about DS pricing and if that can possibly maintain itself. Okay, so that's our future. If we were predicting, if we were looking into our crystal balls deeply, I didn't look into a crystal ball. I shook an 8-ball and it said check again later. Sorry. So let's talk about the worst trends of the last year, though. What would you say was the worst trend and best trend of last year, Stefan?
So this actually is a fairly recent thing that I've noticed, but as we've talked about it, I think on the last episode or a recent episode. But that's the fetishizing of seals. Now I get it. This is going to be me picking on the seal collectors a little, but and this is not to say that like I'm not discounting seal collecting in general. And I understand that there is a monetary value related to the actual seal, but. This specifically, I had started to notice when there recently on eBay was a number of water damaged Super Nintendo games that were sealed that were still wet. but also completely covered in mold. And again, because they are still wet, that was active mold, and people were still buying them. And I have no problem with people valuing seals. That's fine. I get it. I understand that there is an intrinsic value to the plastic that covers the product. However, when you are valuing an item for being sealed, when the item in question is not only like absolutely irreparably damaged, because if something's soaked through, then the box is going to be gone. The cartridge is probably rusted. The label is probably bubbling or eaten away. There's like no, other than the fact that this item is sealed, there should be no value assigned to this item because it is completely ruined. And not only completely ruined, but if you don't know anything about mold, mold tends to travel to items that it likes in its vicinity. So not only are these items that should have no value, but also could devalue other things in your game room and legitimately cause you health hazards, because not only is breathing in mold spores not great for you, but also nowhere on those eBay listings did they say what that liquid that it was wet with was. So you can assume that it was water, but you don't know that. You don't know what kind of pathogens were in that water. So there's just so many reasons why you don't want this thing in your house, and people are paying money for these games that are actual health hazards. And it's all in the name of having a sealed copy of Super Metroid, because I couldn't possibly afford a good copy, a good sealed copy of Super Metroid. So the next best thing clearly is a completely ruined, health hazardous version of the game. Is it really? Is that really the next best thing? Do you really need to be paying for something that could damage things in your game room or cause you or your family, your loved ones, health issues? Really? That's by far valuing the seal so much that you completely disregard what's underneath it. That is my least favorite trend of 2020.
I don't know if the mold itself was a trend. I think there were a couple batches of sales that should basically not have happened or went too high. But the idea of valuing the seal itself over things like the condition or the correct variant, even going back to whatever the highest selling Super Mario Brothers 3 was, it's a super nice, it was like a 9.0. So, think what would the world pay for that? Tops $400, I'm going to say, which to me is a crazy price. It's a $400 game with the seal, and then it's $150,000. There's a larger disconnect between those prices than there has ever been. So, I'm with you on the condition of the item matters, not the seal.
Yep, I agree. Tyler, what about you? Do you have any other trend that was
Oh, yeah, let me tell you. In March, if you look at price graphs, there was this trend where everything doubled in price immediately. That was a pretty bad trend that I think was unhealthy for video games. But no, actually, this might be the same thing I said last year. Bad trend, people putting pretend importance on variants that are either wrong for the reason they're trying to put importance on them, or just they invested in it and they're trying to hype it. I don't want to tell people that what they're interested in or what they're collecting is wrong, but again, this is probably because of the groups I've surrounded myself in these past couple of years.
Yeah,
but
Mean World Theory, come on, get there.
Excellent example would be the Space Invaders, Atari late prints in general. Go on Heritage Auctions and look up Atari games that are for sale. A lot of the games for sale are games from the mid 80s, and they have there's this certain style of box, these red box Atari games. They're all late releases. So you'll see Space Invaders, you'll see Donkey Kong, and these games are selling for hundreds and thousands of dollars, when the original prints aren't for sale at all. And like the original prints might even still be relatively available, but people are just buying like, oh, it's Donkey Kong. It must be worth a lot. It's Space Invaders. That's a classic on the Atari 2600, I guess. I hate people buying the wrong variants. I hate people buying the Grand Theft Auto 3 that came out of the $30 sealed box set. And I don't want to tell people there's only one right thing to buy or one right thing to think is cool, or that my way is the only way. Because this also applies to people who I generally agree with. So there's this guy on Facebook groups that goes around with the Japanese games that literally no one really cares about. And he just is hyping them day after day after day, trying so desperately to make his $50 game into a $500 game for no reason, calling it the true first print and calling everyone else an idiot. And the thing is, I generally agree with the sentiment, but he's still a complete asshole the way he goes about it. You could tell he doesn't care about video games. He doesn't care about video game history. So on one hand, it's the historical revisionism, it's people trying to make what they have into the most important thing. But on the other hand, it's just the entire culture of hype. People trying to put whatever they have available in front of as many eyeballs as they can to make that thing the thing they can flip for 10 times the money.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, that's it's problematic because then you'll get these like weird bubbles in prices and like unfair spikes, and then you'll get like regret, right? And then people will feel like they got in the hobby, and that's not a feeling anyone likes, and that makes people leave. And despite all of the things we talk about, we do want the hobby to grow. Like, it's better for all of us. I love collecting video games. I want to talk to more people about it. I hope more people come into it. But if you create these super feel bad moments, and cautionary tales, then people might be driven away. So.
Sure. And it might be I might be saying this just because I'm a snob about being the most technically right thing when it comes to these variants. Like, in the Retro Gem Miner video, I have a Play Choice Super Mario 3, which is technically the first US release of Super Mario Bros. 3. No one cares about that, but that would be the technically right thing to have. I'm not saying you have to be like that about it, but if you're, I don't know, hyping a variant as a first print when it is not, that stuff gets to me.
Yeah, be sure to push your glasses up your nose and wave your finger when you talk to people about being technically correct.
Yes.
Technically correct, the best correct? True?
Absolutely. Got to be technically correct.
All right.
That whatever that weird Kid Icarus Mario 3 review thing that's sold on Heritage, that's the first release of Super Mario 3, guys.
All right. So here is the trend I don't like right now, and I'm not going to talk about it too much. Pokemon cards, not into it. Just, I love that you guys are into it. Like, cool, go enjoy it. I'm not against nostalgia. I'm tired of seeing it everywhere on my Facebook. It has nothing to do with video games, except that some of the same investor types have gone and said, oh, like Pokemon is now an investment, and that bled over into games too. So Pokemon games, that's like my worst trend, mainly because it affects me personally. Not like, I don't necessarily think people are wrong or are going to get, totally hosed. I don't know enough about any of that to even be relatively close on any of that. So that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I personally don't like these things because I'm tired of seeing it in my Instagram feed.
Guys, it is crazy how many of you started posting Pokemon cards in late 2020 on Instagram.
Yeah.
Immediately after the boom. Yeah.
Yeah. I just like, hey, you guys like it? If that's all you post, then just expect me to mute you for a while, and then I'll check in on you later, and we'll see what's what then. But yeah, not into that whole big thing. But all collectibles have been crazy. It hasn't just been video games. Collectibles has had a crazy ride in 2020. And that's because a lot of people feel like collectibles is a good place to put money. It's a little more foolproof than markets, as stock markets can shift too rapidly. But I can't see how any of that is true. Like, I'm not a market expert on anything at all. Not even video games. I know a lot about video games, but after this year, all I can tell you is that nobody knows anything and prepare for, like, I could speak to you in general about a couple things that are probably true, but everything could go haywire. Who knows? The world is a crazy place. Experts are pretend experts, I think, right now, as far as markets are concerned. So
I think we are
do what you will.
relatively
Be
lucky
cautious.
to be in video games and not these other collectible things, cards, sports cards, magic cards, Pokemon, because some of these things just like, oh, Charizard went from a $2,000 mint card to a $30,000 mint card.
Oh, yeah.
And like that has been largely relegated to sealed games. But if you want a first edition mint Charizard, it's like, well, you don't have the option to, I guess you have the option to get the worst version of Charizard, unlimited version of Charizard. But, when you buy video games, you could buy like the exact same thing for 0.5% of the price if you don't want it sealed, which is where the crazy market is, which is
Right.
nice.
And if you want carts, like, as crazy as the market's been, cart price only has not been affected that much. So if you were like just looking for NES carts, it's still a perfectly reasonable hobby. Not that it's not expensive, but when you're looking at Pokemon cards in comparison, it looks fairly tame. So hooray for that. So I'm gonna ask you guys a couple of things. And you can let me know what you think could happen in the future. In 2019, we got a lot of mini consoles. Do you think in 2021 we will see the rise of any more mini consoles?
What's left?
I mean, N64, PS1, or PS1 was done, but there are systems out there. Dreamcast, every handheld.
I don't think that we will see anything more from Nintendo, only because they don't really have an incentive to do that anymore. Those mini consoles they put out for a very specific reason, as a holiday stopgap between console generations. So the Switch is doing so incredibly well that I just don't see them. Nintendo doesn't tend to do anything without a reason, even if that's a reason that we don't really understand. And so I don't see them shifting focus away from the Switch, because it's just doing so phenomenally well. So I don't think that we'll ever see, or at least not in the near future, up until there's another situation where they need a holiday stopgap or something like that, that we would see anything more out of Nintendo. And I can't even, I guess maybe a Master System one.
What about Atari
Or-
Flashback 11, guys?
No.
A Master System one? Who would buy a Master System one? I think it's
I
more
don't know.
likely they would put out another Genesis one.
Yeah, I don't, like I said, what's left. So no, but
Wait,
definitely not,
we
definitely
can go
up from
full
Nintendo.
circle to dedicated Pong console plug and plays, which would just be the dedicated Pong consoles.
Yeah.
I really want one of those Pong coffee tables. Have you seen those that are like the physical version?
Yeah, they've got them in arcades.
Yeah, they're really cool.
There's one in
I don't know.
Portland.
I haven't been in
Okay.
arcades in a while.
Yeah, I know.
Tyler, do you think any more mini stuff? Like, they don't need to be long answers.
I
No?
think mini consoles are a fad that has burned out. What was the last one? Like the PC Engine TurboGrafx? Like there wasn't even a lot of hype around that because, the big things would be NES, Super Nintendo, even Sega Genesis, people didn't care. PlayStation 1 was kind of a joke because there was no effort put into it. Like they're running out of the big iconic stuff. Like if there was a PlayStation 2 mini console, it would do gangbusters, but Sony's not going to do that. So... because they're not going to put 20, full-sized PS2 games, which are, dozens of hours of content, and put it in an $80 package or $100.
Well,
The
also
PS1 was
they
$100,
could-
wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was, and then went down to 50.
And then it went down to 20.
But there was also, like, PS2, I think, is still part of their selling library. Like, you can play PS2 games on, like, I don't know what their compatibility issue on PS5.
Well, I do have a trend I do think is going to happen. I think we're going to see more aftermarket retro games, I will say, from companies like Limited Run Games and IM 8-Bit.
of course.
Homebrews, like re-release it. I think all that stuff is going to be crazy. I don't know if 2021 is the year, because we're still going to be in weird coronavirus times, but
just limited run alone this year. Like, what's so many dumb games. Like, the Star Wars games did not need to be re-released in this format. Like, GBA or Game Boy games did not need to come back out in Game Boy cartridges.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking about those. Those like Return of the Ninja or Revenge of the Ninja from later on games. Like that stuff is so weird.
Yeah.
I dislike that stuff so intensely. Their premise is so good on the outside, right? Like, I want to like limited run so much. And when I first heard of them, it's like, oh man, there are these digital games that they are making physical releases so you can put them in your collection. And that is awesome. And they still do some of that, right? Like, there are still games that get me. I just went and I looked at all my limited run stuff and like shook my head that there are still games there that I bought and I'm happy with. But there's just like this new stuff that's coming out. Like, why? If it already has a physical release, it does not need another physical release. But as much as I feel that way, like, I look in their comments, people about Return of the Ninja were so mad. They're like, why are you making this game? Why don't you make Ninja 5.0? It's like, and to me, that sounds insane. Like,
what are you doing? Like, what is Ninja 5.0? $500 game? I really have no idea. $2,000 game
like,
it could be.
It's like $500.
Okay, but like, it's not, if you buy the $80 limited run games version, because let's be realistic, it's not going to be a $30 game. It's not filling a hole in your collection. You have a fake rare game at that point that anyone will be able to buy on eBay for the rest of the time. So what? I guess Ninja 5.0 is supposed to be a good game. So if you quote unquote just want to play it, as if you couldn't download a copy of Ninja 5.0.
I don't get what it is. They're like, why don't you do this one? Because then I would buy it. You're like, but what would you buy it for? Like, is it status? Like, what is the purchase? Like, what is the imperative? Like, if the Castlevania collection, I jumped on immediately. I own all those physical games, but this is like a special package that Konami did, and I was like pumped for. I'm like, oh, cool. A Konami collection, you're going to put it on. I will buy that. Awesome. But like Shadow of the Ninja, who is asking for this? Why? And also why? There's no game like Battle Princess Madeline. I don't like that it went to limited run, but that's a game that like, oh, cool. Like that's a game I would like to play. Sure. So I'll buy it there. Costume Quest 2. That was a digital game that came out physically through them. I was really excited to buy that. You know, I love my Costume Quest games, the Halloween stuff. I was there day one, ready to give them my money. I didn't buy the special editions because those are gross. But yeah, like what is this thing? I don't get it. I don't get what it does for the people. Tell me what it does for you. I'm missing something. There's some bit of information I don't have, and Tyler doesn't have it either.
So I do buy junk that they put onto like Amazon, but it's because it's like $20, $30 shipped for like these stupid multi-carts of like Jalico games or whatever they've done.
Oh yeah, those. But
the problem is when it's like $80 to $100, then it's just like, I would rather buy a real video game.
Yeah, that's the other problem. Like, the minute you like start reaching that price point, it's like, well, should I just be buying something that actually improves my collection versus this that does like nothing? But people find that those things are collectible. Like, they put the cards in with the packs, and you know, they have numbers and stuff. People are into it. There's this whole segment of collectors that I don't understand that just kind of love this part.
The Jack and Daxter, the ones that look like a book, I think those are worth like hundreds of dollars now. Oh, yeah. And those came out like a year ago.
Yeah, like, you know what I resent about the Star Wars games? Is I like the big packaging. Like, I think it looks cool. It's too big. I wouldn't buy it for myself, but I think it looks cool. I think the Jack and Dexter books look awesome, but I wouldn't like... I don't want to put those in my collection. Also, it's like, you can get those games, so why would I be buying those? I don't get it.
Also, I think that those are the PS4 re-releases, and they're like shoddy up-reses of the PS2 version, so they're not even the good version of the game. Like, it would actually be cooler if they pressed a PlayStation 2 format disc and put it into that and made it like a PlayStation 2 limited edition, I think.
Yeah, I don't like that trend.
Also, Johnny, the Star Wars boxes aren't cool, because I bought the Star Wars boxes because I thought they were cool, and then over time, like over this year, I realized like, oh, This isn't going to be some special Star Wars set. Limited Run Games is just trying to standardize their limited edition packaging so they can be really lazy about it. Like multiple Star Wars games have the same exact outer box that just has like the Star Wars New Hope logo on it, and it's just like, oh, this one's the Game Boy version. You have to know. It's so dumb.
That's sad. I mean, it's sad, but not unexpected, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. What can you do? Okay,
but,
guys.
So even beyond that, Johnny, I just want to point out, there's a Jay and Silent Bob NES game that came out. That was in 2020, I'm pretty sure. And tomorrow on Pawn Stars, they're going to announce a Pawn Stars NES game, which is where I got my Chun-Li autograph. They sent me a copy of that.
How did you get on this special list?
I'm an influencer. But what?
How did you get on this special list? Did you review Jay and Silent Bob? Is that why?
I reviewed Jay and Silent Bob because I reviewed his earlier games, Eskimo Bob and Alfonso's Arctic Adventure, and he was just like, I'll send you a review copy of this, I think. And then the Pawn Stars one, I reviewed Kevin Hanley's previous games, and he had my address, and he just gave it to the Pawn Stars guys, and they sent me a copy of their new game. Like that, I'm not even asking for stuff now, and I'm getting it in the mail, Johnny. I have made it in life. I've reached my homebrew final form.
Influencer.
I get the games before the Kickstarter's even announced now.
Whew.
Damn.
Man, when am I going to get that level? I'm never going to be on that level. I don't do enough on social, I guess. Damn.
I haven't posted on social media in a month.
I know. I mean, no one cares about Instagram. Not at the level we're at anyway. So YouTube and stuff. That's a lot of effort though. So
anyway, I think we're going to see more dumb stuff. Like I wouldn't be surprised if like a major artist puts out like an NES album or something like that. I don't know.
Okay. Let me ask you about this because this is something interesting. Are we going to see another handheld system?
Ever?
Like that is just specifically handheld.
Yeah. The Playdate, right? The Playdate's coming out.
Woo! What is that?
It's a new handheld that you have to crank.
It's pretty cool. It's got a crank.
Oh, that thing. No, but I mean like from one of the big companies. Like, is Nintendo gonna release another one? 3DS is dead.
Switch Pro.
Do we Switch? I mean, but that's not really a handheld, right? Or are we gonna see like a dedicated and even the Switch Lite isn't I don't count that as a dedicated handheld. Like, are we going to see this division anymore, or do you think there's going to be a consolidation now of that? Like, is PlayStation ever going to go for a new PSP or something in that line? Like, are we going to see any more of that? This is just more future predicting.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see. Not this generation. You're not going to see anything come up against the Switch. I think it's so solidly cornering the market. I can't imagine. And I could be wrong, but I can't imagine anyone investing the kind of money that you would need to spin up a handheld to go against the Switch. I don't see it.
Especially when no one has ever succeeded against Nintendo. And like Sony, the Vita went up against the 3DS, which was probably like maybe Nintendo's weakest handheld ever. I don't know sales numbers of modern stuff, but that would have been the time to try to compete with Nintendo in the handheld market, and they couldn't even do it then, so they're not going to do it against the Switch. Maybe whenever we come into a new console that succeeds the Switch and Nintendo has to figure out what they're doing with handhelds versus consoles, maybe that'll be a time. I just think people maybe don't want to play like PlayStation and Xbox games handheld. Like we've got phones if we want to dick around mobile. Yeah. We don't need a mobile PlayStation.
Yeah, I think a lot of that will wind up being phone. But I think if we ever see another one, I think it'll follow the Switch model. Like, it'll just be a way to take your console with you on the go, not just be dedicated. I think it's shown to be lucrative.
Maybe. I think if Sony or Microsoft like copied the Switch model, I think it wouldn't have any of the magic and people would be like, oh, they're just trying to copy Switch. But I don't know. Maybe people would be into it. Like Alienware has a Switch, I think. Like they made a PC in the form factor of a Switch, and it's like, okay, why?
I mean, I would check that out, but I would probably only get 12 hours into it, so probably not a good buy for me.
12 battery charges, probably.
Johnny, are you hearing that thunder?
Yeah, the thunder has been crazy. The rain, and the wind blew part of my roof off, I mean, there's still shingles there
Tonight?
and like a roofer is coming tomorrow. So I'm a little worried about the rain right now. Like, what is it doing to my house? Is it getting through? Is that layer of shingles that's still up there enough? I guess I'll know after the podcast.
Jeez.
So it happens. Sometimes we get some strong winds. You know, the ones we had like 4 days ago, which were stronger than all the other winds that we had, but they didn't turn the power off for us, Stefan, those winds.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
I know wind is your favorite subject right now. But hey, they didn't turn it off, so you made it. Okay, let's see. How many more boutique companies do you think we're going to see? Any more new ones this year?
No, I think the current companies have saturated the market to the point where rather than spinning up an imprint, people, studios are already so exposed to the options out there that I think they're just going to that. I'm not working in console right now, but the last time that I was seeing contracts come through where developers had like limited run physical imprints already written into their contract, like in for like greenlighting a game, like that limited run was just going to be part of their dev cycle, or publishing cycle. So I don't know why. Like if there is another imprint, I don't know why it would succeed in the face of all of the pre-existing imprints out there.
Okay. Tyler, do you agree?
I kind of can't believe there's enough demand for as many limited print run companies exist now as like how are there already this many? So I don't there's no room for more, I don't think. Also, I think it's pretty weird that Limited Run Games is kind of like the biggest company of them. So they have the biggest print runs. So in their own business model, like by printing more stuff, they are kind of contrary to their own message, because like probably a super rare game or whatever these other companies are called have lower print runs. I don't know. This whole market's
They're really
crazy
a print to demand company. It's more print to demand for this time window than
are they,
that is a form of limiting.
Name another one.
Whatever.
I am 8-bit. Well, I am 8-bit. Stefan, is there a special
hold
thing
on.
that happened?
I was going to get there.
Okay.
I was going to get there.
Right.
Guys, predictions. Are we going to see more exclusives through I am 8-bit? And side note, will I am 8-bit sell out of their Mega Man games? Stefan, go ahead.
Well, they haven't yet. Actually, that's not true. We looked today because last year on this episode we did a yearly check-in on the Mega Man releases from Iron 8-bit and whether or not they had sold through yet. The NES copy of Mega Man 2, guys, has finally sold out. You can no longer.
How did it do it?
It is now super rare. You can no longer get it.
But do you know why it sold out?
Because they sold all their unsold stock to Best Buy, probably.
Yes, that's correct, and it is sold out at Best Buy.
What?
I did double check, but
Yeah,
I don't know if that's because
something
Best Buy just that could be because Best Buy liquidated it, or because it actually sold out. I don't know.
Yeah, that was something that I complained about some months ago when they did that for their Lion King release, because it was super shady. Because on the I am 8-bit site, it said that they were sold out, and then if you went over to Best Buy, they had plenty of copies. So it was pretty clear what happened there.
Which is weird because Best Buy had their own copies of like a special packaging for Lion King and Aladdin.
Yeah. And then, so anyway, but the Mega Man X is still available on iam8bit.com. So go over there. You never know when they'll sell out of their 8,500 copies or whatever it was.
Do you think we're going to get more now, though? Do you think we've finally done it? Like, have they failed enough there that, I mean, they were fine with Earthworm Jim. They got out of that one really quick because they limited their stuff. And I think there was another title they limited as well. But do you think they're going to have more games, or do you think they're done?
I think they will have more games because I think they are now partnering with... Oh, God. I actually don't know if that's public knowledge or not, or if that's something that I heard internally.
So don't say anything. So don't say anything.
But so yes, I do.
Okay, and I don't mean like PS4 games because I know they got like PS4 and Switch exclusive, but I mean specifically in the style of like here's a Super Nintendo or Genesis game. Like you think?
Oh yeah, I think probably not. I think they I think definitely we'll see more boutique games, but likely for more modern releases. I don't think we'll see another cartridge unless they are literally served it on a platter. Like if an IP holder comes to them and is interested, maybe. But I don't think that we will see any more cartridge releases from them. That is my hypothesis.
All right, fair enough. Okay, Tyler.
Yeah, we're absolutely going to see more dumb garbage from iam8bit. They sold out of 4,500 of their Aladdin Genesis repro for $100.
But they didn't.
They did. What are you talking about?
They sold it all to Best Buy.
But didn't Best Buy sell out of them?
Oh, did they?
Or they sold that? They
don't know.
clearanced them out? I don't know. I think we'll probably see them at lower numbered print runs because what was the Earthworm Jim was like 2,000. So I think they'll be willing
2,500 or
to
something.
put that junk out if they can make money on it.
That was, however, I mean, that was also leveraging a very successful Indiegogo campaign for the book. So I don't know how much that influenced that or not.
We'll see. It's the Legacy Cartridge Collection. They gave it a name this year, so they have to continue it.
The Lion King Legacy Cartridge Collection is up for pre-order on Best Buy. I don't know what that means.
What the hell? What is this market? And why is Best Buy saving this market in multiple ways? It's so weird.
I
actually
do not know. Yeah, no, you can buy the Legacy Cartridge Collection of Aladdin. Pre-order yours now, just $100, guys.
Who at Best Buy is buying that? I don't even know what's going on.
I don't know what actually... I'm not going to actually buy this, but I have this Lion King game, in my cart for checkout. Best Buy is willing to charge me $99.99 right now. It says pre-order and says a release date for this item has not been announced, but we'll email you when it's ready for shipping or pickup. So
yeah, that's the same for Aladdin.
I don't know what that actually means.
Do they have
No
Battletoads?
idea.
Because they had that Battletoads was the other game I think Johnny was thinking of. They made 2,000 of them, and it says sold out.
Yeah.
That seems like maybe you can get 2,000 people to pay $100 for a fake copy of Battletoads rather than a real copy. It's licensed. Yeah. I'm not hating it as a repro. I do like that it's licensed, but man, that is essentially what a copy of Battletoads costs. What is everyone doing? And it comes with nothing special. It comes with like a manual and a fake registration card.
Yeah, I mean, we went into why these are like.
It should
bad.
absolutely come with a button that says "Ask me about Battletoads." Then I would have bought it.
That would be an easy win. Then you can't expect them to do things like that. Okay, I think that was all the questions I had. If we thought we were going to see any more trends like that, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that we could try and predict, but I'm just hoping all of our listeners and everybody made it through this year fine, 2020. I hope, like, you guys kept your jobs. I hope everyone's okay. I hope you didn't have to leverage your collection for money, or if you did, that you got paid out because collectibles went crazy. So I'm just wishing the best for everyone as we move into 2021. And I mean, I hope it's got to be a better year for everybody. So
why would you say that, Donnie?
Why
you better
would I
knock
say?
on some wood.
I said I hope. I didn't say it will be. There was no definitive statements.
Got it.
I said I'm hoping. Like,
all right.
I'm always hoping for the best, but like,
I thought you said it's got to be a better year, and I was like, why would you say that?
I mean, I said that like ironically. It's got to be better, right? But also, I don't believe that is necessarily true at all. I know this year has been it's been a lot of anxiety for everybody, and I mean, not just COVID, not just the election. It's just a whole lot of uncertainty. And like, you had these big key events, driving that, and people having wedges driven between them, between their family and their friends, and like all this picking of sides about shit that doesn't really matter to them on a daily basis, especially when it comes to politics. I hope we can get back past that into a better place as we move to 2021. I hope enough people get the vaccine or the virus goes away. However you best hope it happens. I just hope it goes away. Magic, ignoring it, whatever solution there is, I'm just hoping that there is one. So, yeah, hoping for a better 2021 for all of us as a global entity. I know some people had really great years. So
I hope we don't look back on that and laugh at how wrong we were about wishing people a good year.
I mean, we've got a trend of getting wrong, so hopefully not. But that's what I'm hoping for in 2021 for all of our listeners. Guys, is there anything that you're going to do differently as you move into 2021 as far as collecting goes, though?
I am going to, I think this was Tyler's answer for last year. I did buy a non-zero amount of sealed games this year. I do not see that continuing into 2021. That was some like FOMO head shit that I got from Tyler.
What did I do?
100%. Your FOMO infected me. And so yeah, I bought some sealed stuff, and then kind of came to my senses. Again, not discounting sealed collectors, just that I am really not one of them. And so I don't know where my head was. I don't know what happened. Tyler got under my skin.
You make it sound like I'm a sealed collector in chief here.
I mean, compared to me, you are.
Compared to anyone on this podcast, I am. But I'm a sealed collector of garbage. I buy the $25 games, and then when people start paying $400 for them, I'm like, what is wrong with everybody?
So, yeah, I do not see that trend continuing into 21. I already haven't bought a sealed game in a number of months, and I just don't see that continuing at all.
I bought a Ring Fit Adventure sealed recently, but I opened it.
Keep it sealed?
No, just to play it. Because it was only $80, because it came back down, Stefan. Screw you and your $250 Ring Fit Adventure.
Okay, but it took forever.
I thought it was literally going to be in the $20 clearance bin by the time I bought it. And I was like, oh my God, MSRP, yes!
Yeah, it took a long time for that to come down, for them to make more, essentially.
Yeah.
But so it's going back to our conversation about, cost value. Like, if you did buy that $250 copy, how many months could you have been using it that would have benefited your health? Would that have sussed out to being worth it as far as how much you paid for it versus how much benefit you got out of it? Maybe, maybe not.
How much would it affect my mental health every time I looked at it and I was like, oh, I paid $250 for that. Like, that's what would hurt me more than the benefit I would have gained by using it. Because I have other means of exercise, but I'd always have to look at that and be like, oh, I paid $250 for that.
Okay. What about you, Tyler? You have a different answer at all?
What's the question? Is what I did this year that I will not do next year?
Yeah, like, do you have anything that, like, are you going to do anything differently this year than you did last year? Like, last year you said you were going to buy some more NES box games, maybe some PS1, PC, and Atari, which you did pretty much. Maybe less PS1 than you probably intended after that crazy spike. But, is there, like, moving forward, are you doing anything different now going into 2021? Like, are your collecting habits going to change at all?
I'm probably not buying, I'm not working on any sets. So this year I finished up Genesis and Super Nintendo, and I've kind of dabbled with like different subsets. And the more I look at them, the more I'm just like, I really don't want to get locked into this mental state where I get 80% of the way into finishing a set and then I feel like I have to finish it. Like, one of the things I wanted to do, I wanted to get every variant of Ninja Gaiden on NES. There's like a dozen different, just like minor code variants of the box. And like, I start looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, Ninja Gaiden is like $100 game now. And like, the nice ones on eBay, people have like bins for $200 and $300. Like, so collecting 12 copies of that is super dumb, even as a subset. So I think I'm probably going to continue buying like one-off cool stuff and see how that goes. Probably a lot of PC stuff, probably a lot of Japanese stuff. But I don't know. I was totally wrong about what I was going to do last. I wasn't totally wrong, but
no, you did most of what you said you were going to do.
Like last year, I thought I was going to basically start working on the PS1 set because PS1 is cheap and it's still from the era of games that I'm interested in. But if PS1 prices are still like kind of doubled, it's like, I'm I'm only interested in this because I can get like a ton of games from a kind of interesting historical period for $4 each. If I can't do that, then forget PS1.
Yeah, probably forget PS1.
Yep.
Stefan, like you're still going to stay on the art train though, right? You're not moving into games. You're not suddenly like you've talked about maybe dabbling in loose Game Boy. You're not suddenly moving back to that.
No. It's one of the, I have decided that what I'm doing requires all of my focus, and it would just like if I put in X amount of dollars into something else and then I missed an opportunity because of that for something that I really care about, and passionate about, that would bother me a lot. So yeah, that's not a thing. As far as Tyler touched upon it a little bit as far as like how I did against my goals from last year. I talked mostly about growing the art collection and then, showing it. And that was, if you guys remember from last year, I was really on the cusp of like, I was supposed to be at E3, I was supposed to be at PAX, I was supposed to be at all these different big shows exhibiting the Nintendo Power Art Collection. And that didn't happen. But conversely, like, I don't know, had I been so engaged doing all that stuff, I may not have been able to grow the collection to the point that I have now. Again, like, back when I was talking about showing it all over the country, I only had, a few dozen pieces, and now with over, I'm about 350 now, and so it's going to be a much more compelling experience when I do finally get out there. So I'm still feeling pretty good about my goals and how I came in against them.
No, I think you're way ahead of where you thought you were going to be, and I think you won pretty much. For me, my answer last year of what I was doing was I was going to complete PS1, did it. I was going to buy some GBA games I thought were cool and some PS2 games I thought were cool. I did those things. And then I said I was going to slow down a little bit. I don't know if I slowed down as much as I thought I would. Probably not. I definitely slowed recently. I just really got back into buying any games over the last couple of months. I've been looking at other stuff. Nostalgia is important to me, things that make me happy. When I spend my money, I want to, that's kind of where I got lost on video games a little bit. Is like when I bought something and I looked at it, like, did it make me feel something? Like, oh man, yeah, that was the thing. And I think that's how we all got into it, right? Like, you buy that copy of Final Fantasy or Castlevania, you're like, yes, I loved this game as a kid, and here it is. And I still feel good when I find those, but when I talk about buying like $45 GBA games that end like when their name ends with a Z, those aren't good purchases, right? So, it's like, cool, great. It's like I did it. I guess I kind of made a value buy that might help me make a set if I ever decide to do that, which is interesting sometimes, like when I really get hooked into set collecting. But I don't think that's in my path for this year, because set collecting is just financially not very viable. Also, spaces, like I'm so out of space, it's ridiculous.
Oh my god, I didn't even remember that, but yeah, I am like 100% out of space, which is another great reason to move into like single games that are cooler.
Yeah. Right now I would much rather buy one game a month that was like $200 than like $10-$20 games or something, or $10 games. That's kind of where I'm trying to be. I may revisit some of the NES collection and try and improve some of my boxes just on the games I care about. If I don't care, then I'm not going to do it. But I also bought a bunch of Star Wars stuff this year. So, I'm a bona fide Star Wars nerd, have been for a long time. I try not to overindulge in it. I know, get a little bit too into that in Harry Potter sometimes. I try to tone that talk down, but I've been buying the 1/6 scale figures, and I enjoy those. I think those are cool. So, plus my wife likes them.
Talking to space, that's one thing that I do think is going to change for me in 2021. I think you will see a drastic shift in my physical game room, whether or not that looks like me actually selling off a bunch of games, or if that's just like reallocating them to like, a storage situation. I haven't really decided that yet, but like, in the space is such a premium at this point, and I have diverged so far away from set collecting and collecting games in general. The how the game room is presented is going to change drastically.
It's like a relic of your previous collector self. It no longer represents who you are now.
Right. Now, again, but because of that, because it's so integral to sort of the telling the story of the journey, I don't know that I have the heart to part with a lot of that on a permanent basis.
Yeah.
But what I am displaying outwardly versus what is going into cold storage may change drastically in 2021 for me.
Well, I hope you expand into some other magazine art. I hope one day you get to the point where you're like, well, I should be looking into some of the EGM art and some of their other stuff. So then you can leverage the collection, so you can put like boxed product next to like have it just be a library display. Like, here's what a set of this system looked like, and here's some of the interesting art that came from the magazines that were around it. Like, I hope you can start to integrate your wonderful collection into the museum and into the shows, rather than, have it just be this like, vestigial piece of you that you used to do.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's fair. As far as me getting into other magazine publications, again, because of the effort and focus that it requires, I hope that someone, like, I want there to be a me of EGM or a me of like whatever, but it can't be actually me. I can't be doing that work.
See, you've said that, and I want to know, like, you've said that before, but like, do you honestly think that's still true? As like, the thing about what you're collecting is it's finite. Games are finite in a much different way than art is finite.
Yeah,
and you already have so much of it. And how will you procure or get more? And like, is that financially viable? Like, how do you not look to new avenues, at least to entice people like into trades and things like that?
One of the issues there, certainly if I approach an artist, for instance, and they have some like Nintendo Power stuff and then have other stuff too, the likelihood of me picking it up, as you say, for like trade bait, that kind of thing, is pretty likely. But you mentioned that it's finite, and that at some point I will I'll have maybe acquired everything there is to acquire for a specific publication. The problem with that is that I would never know it. I would never know when I had reached that point, because I have no way of knowing what's been thrown away or what's been, there's so many things that could happen, but then also I have no way of knowing what Nintendo is holding first party. So I'm always going to be looking for things for Nintendo Power, because I have no way of knowing when I'm finished.
Sure. But I'm talking more in the regards of like, okay, it's been 2 years and you've acquired no new art. It's never come up. People aren't parting with it. You're in a deadlock, or you're only getting, it's like, it gets to the point where you're fighting only the other top end guys who are trying to get this market, where maybe you get one piece. Like, at what point does the value proposition change? And like, this is content you're presenting and you're expanding. Like, at what point are you forced to grow outside of that? Do you think that's a thing that could happen?
It's a fantastic question that, Johnny, I just don't think I have the answer to right now.
Okay, that's fine. I was just curious because I'm thinking about it.
No, for
right
sure.
now.
And I think there's going to be a point in which I have to start asking that question. I don't think it's now. And
now, tell me now.
I don't have a good answer.
Answer me, damn it. No, I'm just kidding.
So
there's no teeth behind that. All right. Tyler, got any other like epiphanies on your collecting strategies going forward? Nothing else?
Epiphanies on my collecting strategy, Johnny.
Like, is there anything you're going to do differently? Like, are you like, have you considered anything else? Like, are you just done? Are you at a stopgap? Are you like I'm giving you a chance to expand now that we've talked a little bit since you answered. Do you want to expand on your original answer?
I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, which is
cool stuff.
Independently deciding what I think are the most historically interesting games, regardless of what I see constantly posted on Instagram, and going for those, and also for the games I see posted on Instagram constantly by people hyping them. I'm going to try to determine how they are wrong about what they're hyping and getting the correct thing, just because that gives me a lot of feel goods.
So I think we're all in the not going to complete a set this year. Will this be the first year you don't complete a set?
I mean, no, I've been collecting video games since 2005, and I don't have 15 sets that were each completed in a single year, so no.
Okay.
On the other hand, that is not the case for me. I've been collecting for a much shorter time than either of you, and now that I'm thinking about it, this may actually be the first year in which I've not completed a set.
All right. Well, I completed a set in 2020, but I don't know if I will in 2021. There's not a lot left for me to complete of stuff that I'm interested in anyways.
Game Boy Color? Well, you're going to complete the Wii set. What are you talking about? Like 100%.
That's true. Maybe. Like, I could have completed it this year. There's not very many games. There's like I say not many, but just like 100 more games to buy.
A year is a very long time, and it will eventually burn a fire in your ass, and you'll be like, let me just finish that up. I'm not doing anything else right now.
But you've also not cared about that Wii set. Like, how many years have you been that
close
to
no,
Wii?
I bought, like, I put probably $500 into the Wii set this year.
Really?
Yeah. Just like quietly. Just like a couple of like, these games, because they, like, the stupid expensive games came down in value a lot. Like, they, like, games that were rare and hard to find were finally like 50% of where they were when they hit like their peak. They were like, oh, instead of being $150, it's like $70. All right, I'll grab this now. I'll grab this one and I'll grab that one. You know, just like some stuff to fill out sets, to fill out the set. So I have a list, and what I did this year, I went through all the Xbox games. I told you about the better boxes I bought for all that. Got them. I have pictures of them. I'm updating my list more accurately now, so I know exactly what I need versus what I don't have. And, you know, I'm like, if I see an opportunity, if someone has like 30 of these games and wants to sell them to me, I will buy them. Or if someone is like parting out their Wii set, I will just give them my list and be like, what do you want for this? And I'll just finish it up. I would like it finished. I would like the Wii set to be done. And I'm closer now. I'm a lot closer. Like, monetarily.
Did I do GameCube this year? Was that this year? Last year.
Last year. Not this year. Thank God it wasn't this year. Think about it.
Yeah.
That the Monkey Ball double pack prices have been coming down, Stefan. Better get one. The hottest game that people will think is collectible forever. The slipcover for Super Monkey Ball double pack Player's Choice.
Hey, do you remember when did that happen before coronavirus?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, they were pretty expensive, because I remember when you talked me out of that one, that was long before coronavirus, and that was still reasonably expensive.
It was like $2,000, and I told you, please do not spend $2,000 on that.
Yeah, and
even though that may have been a fine monetary value at the time, you got to be happy you didn't spend that $2,000 on that, especially given your answer of having the money and liquidity to put into art.
Sure. No, fair.
So I helped you. In the end, I was right. I did help you. That's what I'm going to get.
The GameCube was October of last year, when nothing else exciting happened in my life.
No, nothing at all. Nothing terribly sad and awkward that I don't want to talk about. All right. I'm not actually joking. It was like, man, rough. But you're happy-ish now. So
I am very happy. Thank you.
So, anyways, guys, do we have any more to say about 2020? This is like there's some format to this, but this is just our 20 year in review and talking about where we're going in 2021. Anything you want to add? Anything you want to see? Are you
any hard goals?
What's
any
that?
hard goals for 2021 that you want to call out and then be wrong about the end of next year?
Me personally,
or just because we did that, we did set out our 2021 goal or our 2020 goals.
Yeah,
I'm
gonna say I'm gonna go with Tyler. I'm gonna finish the Wii this year, and I'm okay if I'm wrong.
Fair enough. I would like to actually at least. So I do have a virtual show. I'm part of. I'm going to do something for Uplink this next year, which I think is in February. But as far as physical shows, I would love to, provided we have them, I would at least like to have at least one exhibition under my belt. I would like to actually get framed art up on the walls of a convention center and show them to people. That is my hard goal for 2021 is to actually exhibit the Nintendo Power Collection somewhere.
Yeah, my goal, like, I always say have a concrete goal. I have kind of this save searched list of like curated games that I am looking for because they are hard to find. But I don't have like it's not like a set or anything like that. So I guess I just have like my want list and it's concrete. I'm not just buying what I think is shiny, but I don't have like a big sexy goal like completing a set.
Yeah, I'm going to complete the Wii just because I want to keep the streak alive of completing a set. Like, and I didn't do that every year I've collected, but like the last couple of years I have. Get like one more year of I did a set.
You know what?
Also, I'm going to get that Metroid hang tab this year. I can feel it. This year's the year.
Oh, see, I just got one of those. Did I mention that in the show? I'm sure I did. Go get it, Johnny. Come on.
Don't stop. Get it.
I'm sure you're going to get a nice one because the difference between like a pretty okay one and a nice one is totally reasonable.
I'm never getting that game. It's so sad. Someone needs my Mega Man 5 for the Game Boy, and they're going to give me cash, and I'm going to take part of that cash, and I'm going to buy a hang tab Metroid.
Do it.
That's what I'm going to do.
Do it. Get a sealed Famicom Disk System one. They're like $100.
All right. You know, the Famicom Disk System one does have excellent art.
It does. Stefan should own the original art for that. And actually, you know what, Stefan, I've got a tip for you because I didn't bring it up before, but you're saying things like, I don't know what art Nintendo has in their archive, like first party stuff. You should just contact Shigeru Miyamoto and plant the seed so when Nintendo dies, they know to contact you to offload their art.
When Nintendo dies, when Mr. Nintendo passes away.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry.
You joke.
It's Tendo. It's Nin is his first name. Okay.
Yeah, you joke. But I am trying to figure out. I'm almost 100% positive Nintendo actually has an archivist, like an actual archivist on staff.
I'm sure
and now identifying that person and then actually making contact is my next big challenge.
I'm sure the
there.
Nintendo archivist is definitely like, yes, I want to sell things to the public.
No, but that's not.
Oh,
that's
just
not
to
the
learn
point.
what they have.
It would be just to identify what they have.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, this isn't the important part. Isn't that I own it? It's that it's safe. And so, at least if I can identify what they have, that crosses things off the list. So I don't have to stay up at night wondering whether or not X piece is still around. And if arguably there are fewer hands safer than if it is actually still with Nintendo. So I would love to just have coffee with their archivist and talk about what they actually have. I don't know if that will ever happen, but I'd like that.
Oh, are you assuming this is an English-speaking person, like a Nintendo of America archivist?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
For a Nintendo of America publication, yes, I am assuming that.
Oh, you're talking about for Nintendo Power? What? I thought you were talking about like Nintendo the company in Japan.
Why would I be talking about anything else other than Nintendo Power?
Super Mario Brothers 3 original level.
Oh no, I know
art.
they all have. I know they have that. Shit.
Yeah. Okay.
But
okay. All right, that makes more sense.
Although I do have a translator on retainer. That is a true story.
Oh my goodness.
Wonder why.
Wonder why.
Johnny, I have a crazy goal for you.
Okay.
Maybe if I get
DS?
really bored and don't know what I'm doing in life, full set of Famicom Disk System.
Oh my God, that would be excellent. I would love to see that.
There's 212 games. The thing is, I don't know anything about I'm not deep on Famicom Disk System. I'm very much like, these are the important Nintendo games. So I don't know, if there's a $5,000 game that I've never heard of and don't care about, I probably just won't complete that. But it's only 200 games, so maybe.
You should look into that because shipping from Japan isn't even that bad.
It's not. I've been buying stuff from
that's
Japan.
the other thing I still want to complete the European extras for Super Nintendo. I just got off that train because shipping became such a nightmare for a while.
And now everything's back to normal.
Getting better, not back to normal, but better. All right. Do we have anything else we want to say as we move into 2021?
Let's move into 2021. Everyone wants to get this year behind us, Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, I think they do, but hopefully it's better, right? Like, it's got to be better. It's got it, right? Everyone, guys?
Let's move it on in.
Yeah.
2021 starts now.
Yeah, pretty much by the time you hear this, it will probably be 2021. So, anyways, that's it. Oh, any other interesting things that are going to happen in 2021? Maybe a Patreon. Maybe there is already Patreon information in front of you, where we will be talking about all the Patreon things you can get by supporting this show, if you want to do that monetarily, which is not going to be a crazy amount of stuff, and we're not asking for crazy donations. But people have asked, and I'm going to probably throw one out there, and you guys can, if you like, you can support that. So that's that. Look for more information on that coming soon.
And new branding.
Woo, yeah, new logo. New logos and stuff. We're going to have some of that stuff. All right, guys, do we even want to talk about what we bought or anything? Do you guys want?
I think we kind of canvassed that in conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tyler,
I do. Because I went crazy, Johnny.
You did?
So I've been buying nothing, and then for some reason, the past 2 weeks were just nuts for me.
You're like, Christmas, I just want to spend money on myself. Okay,
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Tell me what you did.
All right. Let's go through my eBay purchases. It's so funny. There's like a month gap and then everything. First thing on the list, something I've been looking for all year, Ocarina of Time, the pre-order baggie that came from, I believe, EB Games. So it's a golden Zelda bag, and in it, it's got temporary tattoos, a poster, and like some promo materials for the Prima strategy guide. So I got that, which I've been looking for like, I don't know what I would have paid for it. What is that worth? I'm going to say $150, $200 for that, just because it's a Zelda thing. Not the most common thing in the world, but they are out there. It came with a complete in box collector's edition Zelda, missing the cartridge. Collector's edition Zelda, it's like conservatively like $200, $220 now. So to complete that would cost me another $60. So like that box and manual and inserts is worth like $150. And I got the entire lot for $150. My goal is to sell the Zelda box to offset some of the cost of the bag. So
Stefan,
I basically got the pre-order
me.
bag for free.
I'm sorry. Did Tyler say he was going to sell something?
Yeah, laugh with me. Laugh with me.
What?
Oh, well, I thought this was going to go for like $300+. So I was planning on selling that. Now I'm probably just going to throw it on the shelf because I paid what I wanted to pay for it.
Yeah, there it is.
Very happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
I got the rarer variant of Microsoft Adventure by Microsoft, the first commercial PC game. Probably one of the top 10 things I bought this year. Very excited about that. I got a complete in box Coleco tabletop Donkey Kong, which is just another save search I had, and one came up and it was pretty nice and it was the right price. It's like, all right. I won an auction for Morrowind Collector's Edition on PC. It went for a lot less than the previous one on eBay went for, so I got it for a price I'm happy with. I got a Ninja Gaiden 2 complete in box because I wanted the little address insert that came with it. If you don't know, Tecmo games have a registration card where you fill out your name and address, and some of them came with a sticker that has the exact same information, so it's just a sticker for your name, address, and zip code, and I guess you were supposed to put it on top of the registration card, even though you could have just wrote directly on the registration card. Don't understand that insert. Kind of hard to find. I got a not for resale Super Mario 64. I got the GameCube Animal Crossing Japanese e-reader bundle. So it comes with an e-reader. It comes with Animal Crossing for GameCube and a bunch of cards and stuff. That thing is like $50 to $100. Excellent deal. That thing is super cool. I learned about a Tecmo Bowl variant. Thank you, SNK 2D forever. He's like, there's a left football and a right football, and they've got different rosters. And I'm like, I don't know that. I've got left football. So I had to go get the right football Tecmo Bowl
left
variant.
as you look at it, or left on the actual if you order the box?
I honestly don't even know. There's three major variants that I saw. Two of them have the football on the left. One of them has the football on the right. I just made sure to get the one I didn't have.
Okay.
Check your Tecmo Bowl variants, guys. Tecmo Bowl is going to the moon. Once we start talking about left and right things, everything is going to be $150,000. Tecmo Bowl is a very rare game, remember.
Sweet. I love left football. Right football is garbage.
I don't like anything that I just heard.
You don't like any of that stuff? I'm so sorry.
None of that.
You like the baggie. You got the baggie.
Oh, wait, Stefan, I skipped the first thing in my list of things that we haven't talked about. I got Final Fantasy X. It's the Square Enix Black Label variant.
All right, that I like. That I'm a little jealous of. Okay. All right.
Black Label variant?
I'm coming back around.
$8.90. I paid for that.
$8.90?
Yes.
Wow.
Because that's another one that was just like, no one really cares about it. It's just like a save search you have to set up forever to find one. But it only took a few months to find that. That wasn't that bad. Anyway,
how long will it take you to find another one for me?
I deleted the save search already. So
you son of a bitch.
Good luck.
God, best feelings. We covered that in an episode. Best feeling is deleting a save search, man. Just feels so good.
Not trying to hoard the super rare stuff. I just want to get one and get out and stop it ruining my morning every morning when I look at it and it's not there. But that was like hundreds of dollars worth of video game stuff compared to the nothing I've been buying for the weeks before that.
Yeah, that is true. You went crazy.
I did. I don't know what happened. I don't know what came over me, Johnny.
I don't know. You got the fever.
I'm not even like FOMO panicking. Like no one's gonna. The price on Animal Crossing for the GameCube, the limited edition set in Japan, that is not going anywhere. So I don't know what I'm buying. Buying good stuff. Just need stuff. I like stuff, Johnny. I have a whole podcast about how I buy stuff.
It's true. I bought, as you mentioned, I bought that DS stuff. I bought a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I bought that Winx Club Saving Alfie. Or Alfia.
Tell people about that. That is a game you guys all need to know about.
Okay, so this is based off of a cartoon. There's a DS and a 3DS version. The 3DS version is kind of expensive too, but the expensive version is the DS one. I guess it's rare. DS rare games are so garbagey and bad. It is so upsetting. But this game is like, it's like normally like $150. It was like at one point like $300. I got it for, like I said, like $59 or something. I think it was $64 out the door, like after tax and shipping and everything. And Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was a game for a while I thought did not exist in the US. I thought it was PAL only, and then a bunch just showed up. So then I finally got one of those, and I guess that one started to go for big money too. But again, it was a game I paid under $60 for, and that's what I bought, which is like a lot more than the nothing I was buying before. I bought some Star Wars figures, so if you guys are excited about that. Woo! You're not. So
Baby Yoda. Oh my god!
I bought two Star Wars related Sideshow figures recently.
Oh, you did? Oh, you bought some? That's right. Well, they're Hot Toy. Well, that's a Hot Toys figure just sold through Sideshow. But yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah. But I also got the I don't know who the actual manufacturer it is, but the Baby Yoda that they also just recently.
Oh, the life size one.
Yeah.
The life size one. That's the one that's out right now is Sideshow.
Yep. So
yeah,
I got
very cute.
Those two things.
Are Star Wars fans? Do they say Baby Yoda still?
I mean, Grogu, I guess is fine if you want to get into it, but I like Baby Yoda is just a cuter name.
It's easier to say, easier to remember.
Right. So, yeah. I mean, plus, if they're mad about it, that's on them for not giving him a name until season 2. Like, come on.
And then having it be a bad name.
Is it a bad? I mean,
kind of a bad name.
Was there ever going to be a good name? It sounds like a bigger creature's name than him, which like.
Yeah.
It's not a cute name, and I want it to be a cute name. But Yoda's not a cute name. It had to be like very consonant heavy, like Yoda, I think, for it to make sense.
Yeah. Who knows how the translation of that works? And I say that in general. I know there's a few of you out there who probably actually know. Don't at me. I don't care. As much as I love Star Wars, I don't actually
don't
care.
have the spoons to back this up, so please don't at me.
Yeah. I say that, but I'm so like, if I ever went on if we ever did a deep dive on how much dumb shit I know about Star Wars, it would be embarrassing. I think it is probably I think I've said this before. There's like maybe one of 4 topics I'm equipped to talk about at an expert level, and Star Wars is one of them.
Johnny got mad at me when I started buying Star Wars stuff because he was threatened by my presence in his hobby.
Talking about like all this stuff. I'm like, hey man, I'm the Star Wars nerd here. Stay in your lane.
Back it up, guy.
This is my turf, bro. Get out of here. I'm not over there talking about Doctor Who and Star Trek, all right? Now,
That's true.
Doesn't matter if I like either of those things. I leave them to you. Stop trying to be on Facebook and be that guy. Back the off, Stefan. I can't. Yeah. Come at you with. I'm like, you want to know about George C. Both? All right. You want to talk about Heir to the Empire? I was reading that as an actual kid. I waited for the last.
That's right. That's what it was. I bought some books. And Johnny got mad at me.
Oh yes.
I didn't.
Yes.
I did not get mad. I didn't get mad. I sent a joking comment.
It's funny.
But yeah, you did buy a handful of books that I don't own them anymore because I gave them to a cousin. But yeah, I definitely owned all those and have a few of them still, like the Christmas gifts and stuff from when I was a teenager when the books actually came out. Like The Courtship of Princess Leia is a book I read as a teenager in high school when it came out. The Truce of Bakura is another one. So yeah. Yeah, Truce of Bakura was like the next one after the Heir to the Empire stuff. I had that and Dark Empire. Yeah. It's like 1992 or something. Yeah. Like Truce of Bakura, you're like, what is this? I don't even remember what it's about.
The Truce of Bakura.
Whatever. It's been a lot. It's been since, what I say, like 92 or 3, since I read that book. There's a reason I didn't revisit it.
Yep.
Now, if you want to talk, Heir to the Empire, that book I thought was great. And then I tried to reread it and it wasn't hitting me the same way. Just wasn't as good, though I love Thrawn. So I don't know. Maybe I was grumpy when I tried to reread it.
Jedi Academy trilogy is the only trilogy that I've read more than once.
Kevin J. Anderson.
Love it.
Sun Crusher. Kip Duron.
Oh, Kip Duron, man. Of all the characters that I want to be brought in from because Filoni, we all know is bringing in some shit. So of all the characters that currently in the EU that are not in canon that I desperately would love to see brought into something, it's Kip Duron. I love Kip Duron so much.
They're never bringing him in. The fact that I could say his name and the author of those books is a little bit upsetting without having gone through this before. All right. That's it. I think for the show. Yeah.
Oh my God. We're still recording. Okay. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Shut up. You just said a bunch of shit that we didn't care about and we didn't say anything.
Excuse me.
Dick.
Yeah. Sorry, that should have been CQ After Dark material. Look forward to that in Patreon episodes. Okay, guys, where can we find you, Stefan?
I am on Twitter and YouTube as Art of Nintendo Power or at Art of NP. I've been really, really putting my best foot forward on the YouTube stuff, like buying $140 fake jackets so that I could show them to you. So I would love it
shaving
if you would
your
go
face,
and support
finally.
me there. What's that?
I said, and shaving your face finally and looking like a professional.
Right. That's right. And I built a set in my garage, literally. I've done things for this channel.
You did all that stuff and then you came out sloppy. I was so mad about it.
Anyway, so yeah, I've been really putting a lot of effort into that. I post at least... I've said at least bi-weekly, but honestly, I've been posting weekly recently. So please support me there. You can still find me on Instagram as Archon1981. I don't think I'm giving that up, but at the same time, I am not posting there nearly as much because I'm kind of reserving that for my personal feed versus things that are really geared towards the art collection. So yeah, you can find me mostly on Twitter and YouTube, Art of Nintendo Power. Please, please, please come follow, come hang out.
Tyler?
I'm Default Gen, Default GEN, and you can find me all the places.
Yep, and I'm Johnny _Iucci. That's IUCCI. If you don't know at this point, you can find me on Instagram occasionally. It's kind of been slow there. I've been lurking in the background of a couple websites. You've probably heard of them. I'm not going to mention them they're not paying me. So until they do.
Video Game Sage, everybody.
Just kidding. Yeah, Video Game Sage. Also, I just want to mention for people who leave comments on SoundCloud, forgive me. I forget to check that. Specifically you, Braveheart. I'm sorry. Like, I just never think to look at the comments there. I don't think you're on Instagram yet, but I'll try to be better. Because you say some funny things. He backed me up on hating milk, and I love that about him. So thank you. All right.
I love seeing the Braveheart comments. It makes me feel like a celebrity who listens to the show.
Yeah, it
Who
does.
definitely knows more about NES than us, and we're like talking about NES.
Absolutely. We're like, you know who's
Like we know what we're talking about.
Like, you know who should really be talking to you though? Like, talk about having imposter syndrome, and you're like, Braveheart walks in, you're like, never mind, I don't know anything. Well, listen to this guy. Yeah, Braveheart's great. So, I mean, it's not like I've hung out with the guy or anything. Just through forum posts and transactions or forum transactions and things like that. Smart guy, knows a lot about games.
I forgot to bring up another celebrity, Johnny. One of my better buys of the year was a first print Left Bros, meaning first print to the date code. Make sure you find that 91208, I believe it is.
Don't tell them the date code. Do your own research. Let's be like everyone on Facebook. Do your own research.
So I could be wrong. I think there's only 3, and I think the earliest one is 91208. I bought that from Ecstasy of Order on eBay, who is Robin Mahara, another celebrity who listens to Collector's Quest. You should
about to bring him
buy
up too.
his documentary, Ecstasy of Order, or rent it for $3.
We gonna have that guy on? I almost feel like let's jump in the shark. That I feel like we've gone too far to actually have him on the show. Now that
I don't think that's true. I don't think that works like that. I don't think it's not like flush with plush. Return. And we did flush with plush. I'm
totally messing with him, but but yeah, because the last thing I thought, because he had said something on Facebook, and Tyler says, yeah, you should come on the show and talk about it, and he said, easier said than done.
Is that what he said?
He did.
That's hilarious.
We're hurting his feelings now, Johnny. We're hurting his feelings.
I mean, no, you know who hurt his feelings was Tyler in the last episode. Jerk.
Yeah, Tyler.
I think it was Johnny for laughing at such an obviously sarcastic joke, but he laughed at it genuinely.
Oh, is that what I did? Yeah, king of sarcasm over here. Mr. Monotone, Tyler. That should be your nickname on Instagram.
Mr. Right. Monotone?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Your vocal variations are slight. It's like translating alien speak. Anyways, I kid. I don't even know what I'm talking
Johnny,
about.
Johnny, why are you so mean?
All right, goodbye. Bye.